Hey everyone, I'm Travis Wright, and you're listening to I'm a Fan Of, your show for music, comedy, and more. As always, if you're a musician, a comedian, or just someone that does something interesting, please reach out to me on Instagram at TravisCanListen. You can find me on Facebook at I'm a Fan Of, or you can reach out to me through the website at I'mAFanOfPod.com. Of course, if you just enjoy the show, please follow me there as well, and like and subscribe to the podcast. This episode, we've got another funny stand-up comic, Sylvia McBateman. She is here in North Texas. She's absolutely funny. You will hear us talk in the interview about, I've been trying for a year or two to watch her, and our schedules were just totally not in sync, and I could not. But everybody kept telling me just how funny she is. And I finally got a chance to go watch her, and true to form, extremely funny stand-up comic. And I had the pleasure of chatting with her a little bit after a show, and just very funny, kind, charming, super hilarious stand-up comic. And I'm really glad I got her in the studio. We talked about a bunch of different topics from family life. She has 4 children, including a set of twins, and how that works with comedy and her identity as a comic, as a mother, as a person. It's very interesting. We also compared our Bell's Palsy stories, and that was pretty funny. And just, she's got a very rich, interesting backstory, and I'd love to see her incorporate more of that into her stand-up, and I got to talk to her about that as well. But overall, just fantastic interview. I really am so happy I got to chat with her, and I can't wait to have her back on the show. Please go find her on social media, follow her, go watch her live. If you're a booker, go ahead and book her on some shows. If you're a comic, get her on some shows with you. But for now, please enjoy this interview. The I'm a Fan Of podcast, music, comedy, and more. All right, Sylvia McBateman, what's going on?
Man, just came from a show, coming to this,
Listen, this is only the second time I've met you, but your energy is it's really infectious. Are you always this hyped? Is this you normally, or
when I'm around people, I guess really? I'm a little bit of an extrovert. And then, I like my alone time, but I genuinely enjoy being around people, hearing their life story, and comedy's a passion. So,
well, I've been trying to watch you forever, and I don't know what it is about our schedules, but they were just totally opposite for a year and a half.
Okay.
And I remember I was talking to I think the first person when I asked about you was Megan King, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you definitely got to watch her." And I was like, "Okay." And then I was like, I remember I messaged you a few times, you got any shows coming up? I'm trying to check it out. And everybody was like, "Oh, she's funny. Oh, she's funny. Why haven't you had her on yet? She's funny." I was like, I want to watch the set, and I haven't got to watch it yet.
Yes.
So I was so excited to make it out to the McKinney show, but that was the first thing I noticed when you came on stage. Is I was like, "Whoa, energy!" And not in a negative way, just I don't know, it's fun. You got one of those vibes where you're yeah, it's a comedy show.
Right.
We're gonna have a good time.
Right.
Is that you in life normally?
Yeah, definitely. Probably my favorite award out of all of my not many awards I've had in my life was a group of friends. We were doing paper plate awards. Have you seen those where you
No.
write just best of or whatever? They gave me most likely to parade on your rain. And that was still the most treasured award.
You still have that one framed in the house?
Yeah, it was on a nice.
How nice. How old were you when you got that?
Probably 20. It was in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I'm a pretty emotional woman, and I feel like it's more acceptable now to talk about that and to be strong in that sort of energy. And
it doesn't come across as emotional.
Oh, that's good.
It just comes across as I'm here to have a good time.
Yes, I definitely am here to have a good time. Life's short. I'm here to have a good time. I'm here to have other people have a good time too. I feel like that's a lot of my comedy philosophy is as soon as I start worrying what people are thinking about me, it's not going to be a good time. But if I start thinking oh, I want these people to have a good time, that's what helps me right before I get on stage. Is I want everyone to have a fun time tonight. Let me not stroke my ego. Let us just have fun together.
It's such a palpable energy when you talk about being that way on stage.
Yeah.
Because I've been to a lot of shows, and I like people who. I'm trying to think how to phrase it. There's definitely the shows where someone comes out and they're trying to be extremely deep and I'm here to give a manifesto, but it's going to be very funny, and you are all here, and it's sometimes that's good, when you do it really well, but sometimes you do just want to be it's Friday.
Yeah,
the week sucked. I just want to unwind a little bit. That whole show that I got to see you at McKinney, the Dead Good show, that whole thing. We got to talk about it afterwards, but that would just. It really did kind of reignite this is why I like our comedy scene.
Yes.
It was such a fun group
King.
of people
Come
on that show.
It was, your article was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I was like, Dad, I can send it to my folks. I can send it to my family. What a reputable article to send out.
I mean, I don't know. It's just fun. I think part of it is like those two guys
yes.
are they're starting on a new venture. So they're hyped and they're trying to do everything they can to do it the right way. And I think when people put that much fun energy into something, it kind of spreads.
Totally.
Do you feel like that spreads to you as a performer? Like if there's a good promoter or
Yes, 100%. And those guys are like trustworthy, kind, fun, talented, hardworking, like all of the things that you want in a producer, someone to work with. Yeah. You don't get, weird, creepy vibes.
It made me so happy that whole show went that way, because I get, even just as a fan, like going to shows, it's like sometimes I won't list any names, but sometimes I'll get burnt out on some of the venues who are like, it's a comedy club. Come in, have a good time. It's why are you not psyched every single day that you run a comedy club?
Right.
It's like, isn't this fucking fun?
Yeah.
Aren't you excited to do this? Like,
there
are people who are dreaming of doing something like
Yeah.
this. And it just made me like reamped. I was like, I'm booking so many guests. We're gonna get this shit going. But yeah, it was a good show.
Party.
It was a fun time.
God, it was so fun. It was fun. Yeah, hanging out. All the comics hanging out afterwards too. It was a great show. Great crowd. Mm-hmm. I love those shows where you get on stage and you're like, oh yeah, this is why I do. Like, okay, maybe I'm not awful.
Yeah. And
then that was a great week of shows for me. I had a private gig. I had that gig. I think I had another gig. It was just so awesome. And then the next week, it was just like, like 6 people in the audience or whatever. You're like, okay.
And you're humbled.
All right, we're going to work for this one.
That's super fun. Yeah. What is your energy like when there's 6 people in the crowd? How are they typically responding to you? Do you come out that same way?
Yeah. That is a challenge where I'll go into a room and I'll want to sort of match the energy of the room to bring it back up. If I'm doing a comedy show, like I don't want to scare people, but I want to be myself, which is just like always this journey of, especially in comedy, how to find your comedic voice. Yeah. And I mean, but you also sometimes just feel different depending on the day. Like you could have had a really hard day, could have come in from an argument, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But there is something about it for me. As soon as I'm walking on stage, I'm in a good mood. Yeah. It is like, oh, heck yeah.
That's exciting.
Like, this is what it is. So yeah, when there's 6 people in the audience, I kind of see it as a little bit of a challenge. Mm-hmm. I was hosting Backdoor on Friday night, and it was light crowd. And I was like, we're going to make this count. Like, this is just going to be an intimate, we're going to make a memory. Yeah. We're all going to remember this night. Like, that's kind of the vibe.
Yeah. I've been to several of those where I've been the one of 6 in the crowd. Yeah. And it's like, I sit there and I think, like, what can I do as an audience member to let them know I'm still psyched? That like, so if I'm sitting there smiling and nodding, are you like, what the fuck is wrong with this?
No, we're like, that guy. Okay. Get that guy some curly fries.
Because I try to like, it's like, I'm here to laugh. I don't care if it's kind of empty. Let's do it. But I never know if they're just like, ooh, this weirdo.
No, are you kidding me? We love it. Have you been on stage? Do you do?
No. I mean, I used to play music, so I've been on stage for that. But no, everybody thought like, oh, you're doing this podcast, like you're going to do stand-up eventually. Yeah. And I don't think I want to. I think I like being on this side of it and never pulling back that curtain. Yeah. Like I learned enough just talking from y'all. Yeah. But I think the moment you stand on that stage and you hold the microphone, even if you bomb, right, I think you like go over and you can never appreciate it the same way again. Yeah. That's just what I fear anyway.
It's so good.
And I don't know. I like not having any like skin in the game that I can just go and enjoy it.
So good.
It
is. It's
and like, plus like when you're on a podcast, when you host a podcast, but you're not a comic who's like trying to get booked and get shows, it's like people are usually like, okay, like they're not like they're happy to see you. Yes. They're not like, he's just wanting to get on a show. Yeah, he's just wanting like, it's just, no, I just wanted to come watch.
That's so, you're a real professional. Your article, like it was so good. You're obviously very good at this and very talented at
thank
this.
You. Please go on.
No. When I read it, I was like, thank goodness you're in this world and there's people like you. Are you kidding me?
I'm
like,
gonna call my wife right now and just FaceTime.
Like, hey, cutie pie.
I don't know. I think it comes from like the days when I was performing music, and you realize it's so hard to find people to help the performer. Yeah. Right? Good. Like if we were trying to release an album or promote a show or something, it was very hard to find someone who wasn't on the show, wasn't a part of it, to just try to promote things. Yeah. And I don't know. I've just always had a soft spot for artists now,
Yeah.
and I feel I enjoy doing this, but I wish there was about 5 or 6 more of me doing
Yeah.
it in DFW.
Right.
I think there's still room for lots of people to promote stuff.
Good.
I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I know,
Especially to this level of excellence. Like I've been on a
thank
couple
you.
podcasts before. Where I was
my
like,
head, I'm gonna have to get different headphones. My head's getting so big right now.
like hold the mic and it'd be like,
Are you always this complimentary to people?
Yes. Yes. I feel like we, in general, humans, we have a lot of negative self-talk, so it just kind of comes naturally, like what I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, I know there's another person, oh my gosh, I'm blanking so much. Some guy here locally, I can't remember his name. I think his podcast is called When They Stood Up or Before They Stood Up, maybe.
Oh, nice.
But he just started, and he's doing a similar thing where he's
Yeah.
not a performer. It's like, I think we need more podcasters, writers. I think writing articles is really fun. Like, it's just an exercise. And I would love to see more people just writing. It's like, don't try to put out like an article a week. It's like just when something gets you psyched, like go write about it. Just whatever that is.
Right.
And I think that would be, I don't know. I think it'd be super valuable. We have so many performers here, and there's really no outlets. Like, if you have a show coming up, how do you like to promote it?
Right, just social media.
And that fucking sucks,
Yeah,
right?
And your family, your friends are like, okay, well,
Yeah,
I would have to get a new day job just so I can invite more people to my
It's like
show.
you can pour your heart into like a well-crafted social media post, and then it's just like 7 likes. Okay.
You can hide your likes now, you know that?
And it's like,
Instagram,
but
you can hide how many you don't
But it's like,
get.
it's all because I posted it at 11:30 and not 10 or whatever
it's
the
true.
algorithm's doing. So I don't know. Are you from here originally in DFW?
No, I was born abroad. I was born in Germany.
That's right. I remember that from your set now.
And you weren't taking notes?
No,
How
I
dare
was.
you?
I've got my notes. That's right.
You're
Because
like,
I was going to
yeah.
ask you, does that mean you were born as a German citizen?
So since it was either on an army base or close, my dad was American in the military. My mom was the German. He picked up locally.
Nice.
And I since have a wonderful stepmom and a wonderful stepdad, so I got to include them. Since I was like 5, they got remarried, but they lived in Germany. I moved around so much, which I felt like I've met a lot of comedians that have moved around a lot. So I don't know if it is like a way we've adapted is using comedy to make friends quickly when you don't have any friends.
That would explain how easily you can talk to people, though.
Oh, that's nice.
Is that you've had that much practice doing it.
Yeah, we moved. So I was in Germany for a couple of years. We moved to Kansas, Fort Leavenworth. Then we moved to Louisiana, Fort Polk. And my parents split. My mom was in Texas, and my dad, we moved to Virginia, D.C., and moved to Fort Benning in Georgia, and then back to D.C.
Are those all just bases? Is that why you were going around?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then then I would visit my mom, and I would fly to Texas a lot. And then I went to high school in Virginia, like close to D.C., and then in Alabama.
Okay, yeah.
So it's sophomore year, we moved to Alabama, and then I went to college at Auburn. So
Well, when you were in any of those towns, like, how did you figure out, I grew up around here, so you'd get like the Dallas Observer.
Yeah.
How did you figure out if there were like concerts or things like that you wanted to go to?
My dad, the Washington Post.
It's
kind of
hard, right?
Yeah, it's so hard. But I don't.
And that's why I think like we got to have more stuff like that. And I don't know. What
Yeah,
was your
we
favorite?
do.
What was your favorite spot to live in when you were moving around? What do you feel like was like, oh, that was home?
Oh, right. I know. It's so hard to have a home in that environment. But I really loved Fort Benning, 4th and 5th grade.
Where's Fort Benning?
Fort Benning's in Georgia.
Georgia, okay.
Yeah, my dad was battalion commander there, and so we just like loved. We lived on base, and so you could play manhunt. Like it was safer, manhunt. What a like army kid thing to do. We played manhunt and like killer dodgeball and.
First of all, I love how we're in like a modern world and a modern military.
Yeah.
But you still have something called like battalion. What was it? Battalion
He was
commander.
battalion commander. I mean,
That sounds so like, brutal.
He's the nicest guy too. Anybody I've ever dated has always been like, "Oh, I gotta meet your dad." This army officer's like career. He's like just the best leader I've ever met. He's super nice, super goofy. He had 2 daughters originally, and then I have a younger brother who's 11 years younger than me. So, such a nice guy. Took me to all my soccer games, all my track practices, with Blair, Martina McBride. This one's for the girls, like just a good dad.
Yeah, if you're a battalion commander, you got to know how to keep a schedule.
Right?
Right?
Yeah,
you can't just slide into that position. It
Yeah.
sounds like it's high ranking. I don't know.
Okay. He would never brag about himself.
I don't know anything
but I
about
can
the
brag
military.
For him. I was in 4th and 5th grade. So, what year did you graduate high school?
2003.
Okay, nice. I was 08.
Yeah.
So whatever 4th and 5th grade was, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a career guy in the
Interesting.
military.
So he retired from that?
Well,
Wow.
eventually, yeah.
Was he trying to talk you into going? Or
I asked, I said, Dad.
or was he like, my girl won't do it?
No, he's like, my girl
I just
can
assumed
do
he
it.
had a country
Yeah,
accent,
right.
by the way.
No, he's not. He's from Maryland. He's not country at all.
Yeah.
No, he's like, you can do anything you want. He's very like, more of a feminist maybe than I even am. You know, he's just such a great guy, such a feminist. He's like, no, you can do whatever you want. So he was like, I can write you a letter for West Point. Like, do you want to go to West Point? And I really thought about it. But he's like, I did it, so you don't feel like you need to. That was kind of the thing. And so then I got a scholarship to go elsewhere, an academic scholarship to go.
Scholarship. Man.
Just a little. In Alabama, you don't have to do much. I'm just kidding. JK, War Eagle. It's a great school. It's a great school.
How'd you like I have a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And I did not have like a college experience. So like I
Okay.
went to like community college
Nice.
and then I did my bachelor's online.
Yes.
Like that kind of experience.
So
And so I
smart.
always wonder like, do I feel like I can't decide if I feel like college is a waste of time and money in that sense and like going that full 4-year at a big
Yeah.
university, or if it's like, no, it's a lifetime experience. Like you're going to learn so much. Like, so
Yeah.
how do you feel about that?
Ooh.
Because you said you went to Auburn, right?
I went to Auburn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which that's like a big, like, a lot of tradition at that school.
Big
like,
football,
yeah.
SEC. I loved it. I loved it. Drank the Kool-Aid, was like a student recruiter, which means I would give tours. Really helped me with my speaking ability, and did like the Camp War Eagle, which is like the new students in the summer.
What is it, Camp War Eagle?
Camp War Eagle.
Okay. So that's what, like you're introducing them and like easing them
They
in?
stay for like 3 days. You're like their guide. You play games like icebreakers with the other students.
Oh my
Everyone's
gosh.
flirting with each other.
You
They're
were all
also-
in on this school.
I was all in.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it. I was in a sorority, loved my pledge class, I loved it. I really did love it. And yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that not being part of my life. I do miss them. Probably a flaw of mine is since I moved around so much that I can easily, if I move, then it's harder for me to keep up with people and to keep that same bond just because I'm like, okay, I have to move on. I have to, I moved to Texas right after I graduated. I got a job in Dallas. So I was like, I love them and I cherish them, but I don't get to see them as much. And so maybe some of those people that have lived in the same place their whole life, I feel like they're really good at keeping those friends their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I have some friends like that, but I wish I was better at that.
Yeah.
I wish I was better. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very similar. Like I have to remind myself, like, you need to communicate with
Yes.
these friends every now
Yeah.
and then. Like, even just a text message.
Yes.
And so it's like, thank God for just like memes and stuff
Yeah,
now.
right? I'm like, have you seen that one? It's like adulting is like you have 3 close friends and you communicate just by memes.
Just memes.
Just over
Yeah.
like 3 months at a time. Or
Oh
whatever.
my God! One of my buddies, Chris, we just send the any meme or any clip of Kevin from The Office when he spills the chili. You know what I mean? Anything related to that, he just shoots it to me, and it's like that's our
the
version of
one.
like, how's it going?
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
Chili season is almost upon us.
I didn't know there was a chili season. What are you
heck
talking
yeah.
about?
Fall?
Oh, chili's year round.
Chili's year round. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah,
I do think I could. I love chili, and like I think I'm getting to an age now where I can start entering in like chili cook-offs. I don't know what I'm doing, but it just seems like it would be fun. You
Now
know?
is the time.
Yeah. Like you
Yeah.
get to a certain age as a dude where you can start entering into those things. I'll buy my New Balance shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Slow motion chili drop on your New Balance shoes. And you're like, no, wipe them off.
Yeah. Get a phone clip. Like all that stuff's coming back.
Oh
Yeah.
boy. What does wifey think about this?
Oh, she wouldn't let any of that happen.
Good.
No,
Good woman.
she keeps me in line.
Good woman.
Yeah.
Are you a spicy chili guy?
Yeah, my only issue right now is like I need to lose weight. I think weight is causing me to have reflux.
Oh, yeah.
But I love spicy everything.
Yeah.
So, like burn it up.
Heck yeah.
And so that's been my new goal is like, all right, you got to lose weight because I'm not going to stop eating spicy food.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be miserable.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we need to get this
Well, you
under
look
control.
good. You never know what to say when somebody says that. You're like,
No.
you look good, man.
No, don't
And
say
I'm
it.
just-
Don't say it. It would
Girls
be
don't ever do that to
it would
each
be
other. We're
better
like,
if you're like yeah, like I mean
I just want some spicy chili on the next podcast. That's all I care about.
you imagine a horrible podcast of just two people eating chili, just not saying anything? The sad truth is that would probably be like crazy popular.
Right.
That would be more successful than this will ever be, is just eating chili.
I don't know. There's hope for this. I don't even know if it's I love chili cheese, hot dog. Like all my favorite foods are things you can get at a ballpark. So I'm like, oh, heck yeah.
That's half the reason I go to any like sporting event. It's just the Frito pie, that kind of stuff.
But it is true. Now it's like you got to eat healthy. I'm 32. Yeah, I'm like trying to eat healthy, I guess.
Yeah.
The energy, like I think
that
that's
metabolism
what
slowdown hits hard.
Yeah, it does. And it's like, oh yeah, I need to take like iron medicine, you know, like
I mean, and it's like I'm doing a lot of exercise right now, and it's like you struggle just to lose 10 fucking pounds. You know?
Right.
And it's like, I hate even saying that to women because I know it's even harder for women to lose weight, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, God, I used to be able to just drop 10 pounds in like a week and be like, I'll just work out and stop eating shit.
Got a wedding this weekend. I got to fit into a suit.
Yeah. And it's like now I can eat pretty healthy, exercise my ass off. And you're like, that was 2 pounds, bud. 2 pounds. And if you even drink anything salty, it's coming back on.
I know it. I know it. Yeah. Oh my God, we're so old right now. I never thought.
It's weird though. Like I thought I would get worse at like athletic things as I'm getting older.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I'm definitely not ready to go like blow my ACL in a 5-on-5 basketball game.
Yeah.
But I've been running and cycling, and it's like I feel like I'm going distances that I never would have when I was younger. So I think there's like a mental thing as you get older.
Yeah.
Where you're like, fuck this. I'm going to go. I don't know.
I love that. Are you in like a biker gang or the ones that drive around here?
No, I'm solo. I don't like.
It's less annoying for us people that aren't on bikes.
Yeah, I don't like those groups. We live near White Rock Lake, so there's a ton of cyclists. And people are always like, oh, you should join a club or something. Yeah. And I just, even though I'm doing the exact same thing, I'm like, those people are fucking losers. It's hard to describe. And I don't do well with positive reinforcement.
Okay, in that case.
And those groups are all like, we're going to do this, guys, you know? And it's like, I prefer to, like I bought the cheapest bike I could find that was like a good, legitimate bike.
Nice.
And I prefer to go around White Rock Lake, and when I see someone on like an $8,000 bicycle, to like just follow them and just have them looking back like, how is he keeping up, you know? And even if I'm dying, even if I'm struggling to keep up, that's more how I am.
Right.
I need to have an imaginary chip on my shoulder, like this rich asshole thinks they're better than me, and they don't know me. You know?
Great.
But that's how I get motivated.
That's a great motivation. Most girls, it's like someone's running after me or chasing me, or I'll still be in a pool and I'll be like, if there's a shark in here, like I'm kind of scared. Like, I've been night swimming a lot in the summer.
Seriously?
Yeah, I love it. It's like my new thing.
In a pool though, right?
In a pool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, versus like the lake.
Like a lake.
Oh yeah, heck no.
Oh, okay.
I mean, no. I've seen enough scary movies that being in a lake at night is a disaster, but probably a pool too. But yeah, just like I'm in a little
swimming.
Airbnb.
That sounds really nice though.
It's so nice.
You doing laps or you just like chilling out?
Both.
Yeah.
I can get a little poetic at night, like a little like I'll write, and you know, it's in my comedy notebook, so I'll write jokes, and then the same page I'll just have like, you know, wannabe poems or
really
whatever. Yeah. Oh. Like it's like and then when you're swimming, it's just like a weightless feeling, like the world can feel kind of weighty, so it's like a refreshing, weightless
what's this poetry like? I'm not going to ask you to read any of it.
No,
like,
it's good. It's really good.
Okay. Were you into poetry like in college, high school?
Okay. I've always liked creative writing and just like stream of consciousness writing. And I feel like poetry's kind of taken off too, in terms of people go to see, like, who is it, Ruby?
I don't know.
And then Amanda, who did the presidential thing, Amanda Gorshman, she did the inauguration.
Oh, okay.
Poem. But anyways, I've always liked poetry growing. I mean, Sylvia Plath is my emo twinsy that I never had. So,
yeah. Why do you think poetry? I was talking to somebody about music, and I think all of it's in the same lane. But like, why do you think people enjoy it so much?
I think it's similar to comedy. I think it expresses things that you can relate to that someone else has explained, so it makes you feel a little less alone, maybe, or a little bit more understood. I think people want to feel understood, and like, oh no, what, me too. And you know, in comedy, it could be like, heck yeah, I noticed that was hilarious. And then poetry, it's like, oh my god, yeah.
Isn't that strange though? Like, you can dress up, a sentiment, in a really articulate way, rather than just saying it straightforward.
Yeah.
You know, and you would think like
Yeah.
short, sweet would have so much more impact.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, well, I don't want to step on your bit, but like
No.
the joke about like when your grandma gave you advice.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like to the
Yes.
point, you know? It's like you would think that would be the preferred way to talk, but
Yeah.
no, instead it's like when people kind of go around the way to write something that sounds beautiful, that ends up hitting you for some
Isn't
reason.
that interesting?
It's very
Yeah.
interesting. I've been thinking a lot about just art in general in terms of like comedy, music,
Yeah.
and like why any of it is even built into like human evolution, really. Right? It's like to think about what a laugh really is, that's fucking weird. Isn't a laugh weird?
That is so weird. Now you're gonna make me overthink it. It's so wow.
But I mean, like, you don't see your
Yeah.
dog laugh.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't see a lizard laugh.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I guess you see like what, a donkey,
only when I'm
a monkey.
bombing.
Yeah. But it's like, what a weird thing. You know, like laughing,
Yeah.
yawning. It's like,
good.
I don't know why any of that really
Right.
exists. And so, just it's so strange to me that like humans evolved to love artistic things.
Right.
You
It's
know,
beautiful.
even cave people just
Yeah.
drawing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, gotta draw this shit.
Look at this.
Yeah.
And then all the parents have to pretend like it's amazing too.
When did you first get like an artistic itch to do any kind of performance? Is it just stand up?
So, not to be generic, but our family, I remember us watching Whose Lines It Anyways.
Oh, that's a
growing up.
great show.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I obsessed. Like, I would sneak up and be able to sit on the stairs to watch the rest of it. We would play games like that as a family. And improv games, I didn't even know were called improv
Yeah,
games.
you're
We
just
just like
goofing off.
random shapes around the house. We'll, pretend like it's
Well,
an
who started
object.
that off? Was that like mom or dad?
It was
or?
probably my stepmom
Yeah.
and my dad, and then my mom. I remember one summer I was in Texas, and she was so cool. She's European, so she's like, kids just come everywhere. You're 13 at a comedy club. I don't care. Very much. So we were at a improv club. And it was my first time being there in person. I remember, of course, they were like, who's this 15-year-old or whatever?
Yeah.
And I was just having the best time of my life. And of course, my mom is so cute. They pick on her, of course. And they're like, her name's Cornelia. And you can imagine this at a comedy club now. Now that I know how the crowd work goes, where the person performing was like, ma'am, what's your name? And she's like, Cornelia. And he's like, what was that?
Does she still have a German accent too?
She does.
Yeah.
She does. And he was like, all right, we'll call you Cornene. And he asked her for advice, like, I need a movie title. And she was like, oh, no. Like looking
Yeah.
around. She's like, still so German, so European. She's like, I don't know. She's like, Down by the Purple Grass. And he was like, all right, Cornene's a pot smoker. Give it up for Cornene. And I just remember loving that. I was so glad she took us there. So I've always loved, I did theater, but I mean,
Yeah.
there was a part of me that I was like, I also did sports a lot, and then social and academics, that when I went to college, I was like, I just need to be in business. That's a good, solid degree. Where maybe I have always liked business and that sort of aspect, but I mean, I love the art. But you just always hear you can't make money as an artist, you can't
Sure.
do this as an artist. So I'm glad to have picked that back up, because then in college I always did sketch. I always wrote the sketches for the sorority, or after college did a sketch thing for 20s and 30-year-olds. So stand-up seemed like the last frontier for me, the final frontier.
It definitely started like at home though with those
Yes.
little.
Yeah,
It's so interesting. Do you think about like if your parents had never done that?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I think so.
Like you might have just been this stiff person.
Boring.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I do that now with my kids. I'll be like, we'll do bedtime stories, and I have them help me finish the story, which is fun. So I'll just like say a line, like, once upon a time there was a dragon.
Because I know you have like 17 kids. What age group is
People
finishing the
always think
story?
that. The 5-year-old.
5-year-old.
He's almost 6.
I wonder about our 3-year-old. Like he's like. He's not quite there
Yeah.
yet for like he can do imagination stuff like if
Yeah.
we're playing with toys.
Yeah.
But it's like
Right.
I'll be like, what did they do? And he's like, can you tell me? Like he does that thing.
He's just smarter than you. That's so smart. He's like, I want to ask you a podcast
Yeah,
question.
man, he is like, I'm sure one of yours has been this way, but like he is just so sweet. And then he's just a little fucking nightmare.
Yes.
And then he's sweet again. And you're
Yeah.
like, buddy, we
Yeah.
were this close to just throwing you out.
Yeah,
man.
right? One of my twins is like that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, we are so alike. She needs naps. Like, I need like, we're both like super passionate, super hilarious, super dancey, super, whatever.
Yeah.
She is, my twin. So my twins are 3.5. My son is 5.5, and then 1.5. I only have 4 kids.
I know. You have 4.
But it's a lot. It's a lot. It feels like a lot.
You know what blew my mind about just the one we have is how much his personality came like prepackaged.
Yeah.
And before you have a kid, you're so ignorant, and it's like I just thought, 95% of who he's going to be is going to come from like how we raise him.
Right.
And it's just he's got so much in there already that we had nothing to do with.
Right.
So were your 4 like how different are they just right out of the box?
So different. I mean, even the twins born at almost the exact same time are incredibly different. 2 girls too. They're both same gender, very different. One's like very engineer minded, a genius.
And you're like the
I'm
other
not
one.
gonna
We're
say-
just
I'm
hoping.
not going to say any names. No, they're both amazing. I mean, the firstborn, it's amazing to see a firstborn because I am not. So I was used to getting bossed around.
Oh, yeah.
My older sister's incredible, the best human ever, but would still boss me around when I, like, hey, I'll time you. How fast can you go get this? And so I had to make sure not to let him boss me around.
Interesting.
Because he's like, everyone listen, I have a plan, and let me hold the map. Like, we'll go to the Arboretum or the zoo, and he wants to hold the map. And I'm like, thank God, because that is not in my, like, I'm not good at maps or directions or whatever.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy. Like, it's just in there.
it is.
It's just in there.
It's in there.
And it's like, it's really hard to explain to someone who doesn't have
Right.
kids.
Right.
And it's given me a whole new perspective on like when you meet people who are like extremely kind or like really shitty.
Yeah.
And you're like, I wonder how much of that is that's just the way they came out,
right.
It's real interesting. I don't know. We only have the one, and it's like, it's really changed my entire perspective on just people.
Yeah, that's cool.
How's it when you have 4?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm not any nicer, but I at least understand why that person's an idiot, maybe.
Right.
Or like I give them leeway.
Yeah.
Or do you just get like...
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this was in the set that I did in McKinney, but I've been trying to write new jokes about like, giving people the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, that's
like
right.
everyone is going
Yeah.
through something tough. Like somebody flips me off. Maybe they don't have any other fingers, like I'd like to think I give people more benefit of the doubt, especially the last couple of years of my life have been challenging, but, and the beginning was a little bit, but anyways, all that to say, I do like, I feel like if I'm out with kids, like, and I see other kids, I'm like, hey, I tried to play peekaboo with this kid at a brunch the other day where I didn't have my kids with me, but then I was like, oh my God, this kid would not quit playing peekaboo. And I'm like, we're going to be like, who's going to quit first? Is it going to be me? Is it going to be, I got to be here for like 8 hours playing peekaboo. Anyways, all that to say, but I also am not afraid now too, like that I have kids will be like, no, I don't want to sit anywhere by kids right now.
Yeah.
Like this is my break away. Like I don't want to go to, like I want to have my own space and time, but
I am so judgmental. I thought I would be less judgmental towards parents, but I'm more judgmental
That's
now. I'm like,
interesting,
will you make them shut the fuck
Yeah.
up? Like, my biggest thing is like, I know you can't make them be quiet. It's
Yeah.
like, can you just take them away?
Yeah.
Get them out of here. What are
I'm
you
so
doing?
sensitive to that. I'll get up
Oh
and
my God. And like,
yeah.
just like when you can tell someone's raising someone like a little,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah. But then on the other hand, I'm like, well, maybe they're going through something. I'm
that's
so
good for you,
I'm so hot
man.
and cold on it though. It's like it literally like in 10 seconds I could go from like wanting to yell at them, which I won't. I
Yeah,
won't actually yell at them, to being like, well, I don't know.
who knows what
Yeah,
they're going through. It is hard because we have no idea, but at the same time it's like, okay. I also maybe just need to go because this is mentally too challenging for me to handle right now.
Do you feel like when you have 4 kids, like that is just the sole defining thing now?
Oh man.
Because that instantly everyone's reaction is probably very similar,
right.
right? Like, whoa, wow.
Yeah. I think I have to remind people that I'm a whole ass woman.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
like it's not my whole personality. And I feel like I've been stepping into this more this past year, past 9 months of like, no, like I'm a whole ass person. And it's typically the people that don't have kids that see that as you're defining. And you're like, no, my kids enriched my life. I love my children. They will eventually grow up and have their own lives. So I want to give them everything that they need now, especially those really intense years. I mean, mine are 5 and under. But as they're getting older, I see a little bit more of the like, oh, okay, we're coming out of it a little bit. They can wipe their own butts.
Yeah, because you basically had, 4 to 5 years of
very
little
intense.
ones now.
Yeah, I had 3 in diapers at one point.
God.
It was... So it was nuts. And I never even wanted kids growing up. Like, I never thought, I always thought I was like my businesswoman, like walking down the sidewalk, like the Hallmark movie that like the business girl that like, but she never finds love. Like, I thought that would be me. Like the one that's just like,
but you're still doing that, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, and I think that's what's interesting. Like, you're talking about people seeing the big picture of you.
Yeah.
Is it's like you still have like a career. You're still doing a career in comedy in addition to that. And it's like you don't have to suffer.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. And you don't have to fit in a box. I feel like that for so long. Like, I don't know what box I'd fit in. And I think that was the problem is like, oh, I don't feel like I fit anywhere. Well, you don't have to fit anywhere. That's like in your mind anyways. Like, you can be you can have a bunch of different aspects to yourself. And I feel like that's...
I don't even perform comedy, but I think a lot about, like I was thinking about comics with kids, because there was another podcast I was listening to where this comic, Zoltan Kazis, are you familiar with him?
I think so, yeah.
He's great, but he was talking on his podcast how he recently got married, and they're not sure about kids because of the lifestyle, and he's touring comedy and all this. But it's like Jim Gaffigan has like 5 kids.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, how many there's this other guy, Dustin Nickerson, I think he has like,
he
has like 3 kids, and he's still a touring comic. And it's like, if you want to do it, you'll figure it out.
Exactly.
And I think you're just like surrounded, like comics are typically like, you know, love all you guys, but it's like it's like a lot of them struggle to keep a normal life in general, just with themselves. So the thought of taking care of any other human probably just baffles them, you know.
Yeah, and you like rise to the occasion, and I think that the first is the hardest for sure. The first kid to me,
it felt really hard.
Yeah, it's like the learning curve is nuts. Just the biggest shock of your life, and I feel like as you add them, it's just like either it's like a muscle and you get better at it, or it's just easier as you add them. But I mean, I'm probably done. I'm definitely done having.
Yeah, definitely done.
Definitely done. But yeah, I think that I remember. What was I going to say about the kids?
We were just talking about how right at the beginning it's so hard.
Yeah, before that, right? The mental game.
Well, we thought like we were prepared. You know, like you're like, okay, you know, I think we know something about this. Like we studied what we could.
Right.
And like we had our son when we were a little older, so you know we're more mature too. So we felt like we got this, right?
Yeah.
And then it just hits you. It's like even even when her water broke.
Yeah.
It's like. I was like, listen, I know exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I know exactly where we're going to go. There's no excitement here. It's going to be fine, right? And as soon as that water broke, it's like all of a sudden there's panic. I was like, okay, I need to walk the dog. He's got to pee because he's going to be here all night. And then we got to put the bag in the truck. Like, and then you know, I'm like, okay, are you good? And then we're driving like 90 miles an hour to the hospital. It's like, why are you speeding? It's going to be hours before this baby is here. You know, it doesn't just out. And but yeah, it's like even that caught you off guard. Right. And then it's like, I don't remember how long her labor was. You know, we went in the middle of the night, and I think he was born in the afternoon the next day. So, but it's like all of a sudden,
it's great. Right. And you're like, you're just going to let me go home with this baby? That's so crazy.
So,
like, do you want to check my
I mean, we're there for what? Like, she was probably there for 2 days, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
all right,
that's it. That's it. We just go now, right? Okay. And it's like, I don't know how you were, but like when that first buckle into the car.
Yeah, of course.
Oh my God, I fucked up. I was supposed to learn all the stuff about the car seat.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, shut up. And we're sitting there having our first argument as parents because I can't figure out how to loosen the fucking straps. You know, and they hide that little button in there, but it's like it was like the thing I didn't. I was like,
I know exactly.
And I'm like pulling on it, and then the nurses are like coming in and out. Y'all need help with it? And I'm like, no, we're fucking fine. She's like, I asked you to do one thing. I asked you to do this, and it's like I fucking looked, and I'm sitting there watching a YouTube video. I'm like, fucking buttons.
Oh my God,
here. Like, God damn, you know,
they
and
need to have a live stream there at the when new dads and new moms are leaving the hospital. Yeah, you need to have a live stream just in that little exit area.
It's just the tiny, the tiny little things you don't think of, and then of course, like you're already like the moment that baby's born, you're already not sleeping, so you're already stressed. You're already
totally.
And it's like I never had anxiety in my life, until we had a kid, and then I had to get on anxiety medication,
exactly,
and then it took me a while to realize like. That was causing all your anxiety,
right?
And it was crazy. Like I had to think about storms for a while. I still do a little bit, because we were in a home before we had a kid where the roof was ripped off in a storm while we were inside. So there was like a little bit of PTSD.
Well, makes sense that you would have,
But I didn't know I had it until we had a newborn in the house, and now these storms are ripping through, and I'm like.
Yeah.
it's going to take the walls off.
Yeah,
And you start getting so irrational.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. Was that just my experience?
No, that's not
okay.
irrational. There's some pretty bad storms around here.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Did you have fear as a new mom like that?
Yeah, if I could even friggin' remember.
Yeah,
man.
so it's just a blur.
Yeah, no, it is. I do remember. It was a shock to me. I definitely needed to ask for help after a few years. Like, I got pretty burnt out. And, yeah, it was, because I was mostly a stay-at-home mom. So I had a career, then I was mostly a stay-at-home mom for like 5.5 years.
Oh, so that's a huge shock in itself
so
to go from working to not working.
I did some contract work and then comedy work, a lot of that for like moms, stuff like that. So actually one reason I started back in where I did comedy more was after my son was born. So he was 1 and I did my first class at Dallas Comedy House when it was Dallas Comedy. That was like what I asked for Christmas. My family was like, what do you want for Christmas? I was like, I think I want this like stand-up class. Don't make fun of me.
How did you hear about it to begin with?
Good question. I think I went to a free open improv thing at DCH, and
Like just
we
to
have
watch?
class, to play, to like just be in it.
Yeah, but what gave you the itch to even do that? Because the average person doesn't know those
Wouldn't
things
do that.
exist, you know?
Good question.
Do you remember who was
I think I went to a comedy show. I've always just liked comedy, so I went to a show, and then I got on some email lists, and once you're on an email list, you
They just
never
send
get
it to
off.
you.
Yeah. So that Christmas, I had a stand-up class. My teachers, I remember they were like, yeah, get to the funny faster, all of that good advice. We had the showcase, and then I've been doing it since
so that
then.
was it.
That was it.
Wow.
I took another class,
So many people I talk to, it feels like that section of it happens so quickly where
Right.
they're like, I don't know, I did this, and then now I'm a comic.
Right.
It's like, just that quickly?
It's not that quick.
I know.
Anybody want, but it's amazing though, because then it's like you get your first. I was really in my niche for a while, like doing MOPS. If you know MOPS, it's like moms of preschoolers. I was doing so many mom shows.
Wait, what's it? MOPS?
MOPS, moms of preschoolers.
Okay.
So I would get hired for all of these. And, I probably wasn't good enough to get hired yet, but they'd still hire me, which is, you don't have to go up after somebody who rocks. Like, you're the only comedian performing usually. So I did that for,
But I'm still confused. You're performing for the moms of preschools? Like,
so they'd have groups, like organizations that have like morning meetings, like big organizations like that.
is this at
Women's
DCH?
group. No, this is just private gigs.
Oh, okay.
I did a lot of private gigs at the beginning, and I still
Interesting.
do now, but that was, I would do clubs and open mics to practice, and then I would do these private gigs that I would randomly get, like just from my
And
network.
were those like paid gigs?
Yeah, they'd be like
Interesting.
paid gigs. At the beginning it was like $50, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I just got paid to do comedy, and then now, it's a lot more, so that's good.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So you enjoyed doing those then?
Yes.
What's the
crowd.
difference of doing one of those versus like a club show?
Oh, I know everybody in the audience is going to relate to what I have to say. I know my jokes will hit without a doubt. And then, club shows, it's kind of hard. Sometimes I don't know what the audience. It's made me expand my material though more. Club shows have.
Yeah.
Where at the beginning I feel like I talked a lot about being a mom, and I still do, but I think my desire is to talk a little bit more deeper about who I am too, just not mom, as much mom material, but I'll always have that.
I bet.
Go to that.
Do you find that to be difficult though, because it is such a big part of every day of your life, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many hours of the day are spent doing mom things?
Right.
So it's like if you're drawing material from everyday life, do you find yourself having to like sit and dig about like, no, there's these other things, or do you just let it come to you as it comes?
Good question. I think that one of my favorite things about comedy is that you have to live in order to write more comedy. And so whether I'm going to the park, like it may not necessarily be about the kids, but it could be something funny that I've observed at the park. And so I think that in that aspect, I'm pulling a lot of things from being a mom. But also I went back to work full time. So I'm back in an office now, and just all of the experiences that brings. And so it really is so much about what's going on in my life where I'm pulling from experiences. So during that really intense 5 years at home, that's was a lot of my material. And now that I've gone back to work full time and they're in school or have a nanny or something, I'm pulling a little bit different material. And that I've been doing comedy a little bit longer, I'm starting to try to get a little bit more to the root of who I am. And I like that too part of comedy. Like I feel like there's sometimes comedians can be pretty competitive with each other. I'm like, there is an unlimited amount of funny to be had. There's an unlimited amount of fun to be had. There's not a quote, like, there's not a cap on laughs. No cap. How do kids say that? Stop. Oh my God. I hope you got this one. There's no limit on laughs. And so,
that's something, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Because, it's like the more I talk to comics, the more I learn about how, some places believe in these like very formulaic ways of doing, like you have your, your opener, your feature, or whatever, your headliner, and these rules about like how funny you should be, like not too funny. We're building, and it's like, what do you mean not too funny?
Yeah.
They're here for funny.
Totally.
And it's like, as somebody who just goes to watch shows, it's like when I hear that, I'm like, so you're telling this person to hold back a little bit.
Right.
And I get the philosophy of we're trying to build up to this headliner, but I also feel like, a headliner should be good enough that it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
And maybe that's a little shitty of me to say,
No.
because I feel like because I don't do it, it's a very, like snarky thing to say, like, why don't you just be better?
Don't say it unless it's funny. No, that's like really the only rule of comedy is just be funny. Like don't. I love hyping someone up and like introing to someone, and I also know that may be where I'm at right now, but I'm also not afraid to get to the place where it is like really funny. But I love getting a room ready to laugh and getting them laughing I like hosting. I like doing it all. So, and you just know, like, I think you have a very realistic. You have to look at yourself and say, hey, I love this. I love doing this. I'm going to do this for the long haul. So let me not burn out. Let me work hard. Let me take criticism how I should. And then just forget the freaking rest, like just be funny. Just write more. It's nothing like just keep going and just, God.
Yeah, you can see it in some people where it's like, even if they're not funny, they're still having a great time.
Yeah.
Right? And there's something that's like even charming. So it's like you can even bomb and be very funny. So like as an audience member, I'm still like, well, I mean, I like them though.
Oh man,
they're all right.
They're all right.
They'll get there. Good job.
Yeah, they'll get
Good
there.
job.
That's nice.
And it's like there's something to be said about just having that attitude when you go up there, because it's like I've seen the person who didn't really get a laugh, but everybody still kind of liked them.
Yes, yeah.
Versus the person who didn't get a laugh and everyone was like, Jesus, get this person out of here. And there's just a weird, it's hard to describe.
Right.
And I'm still learning so much about it.
Yeah.
But it's very fascinating.
It is, because every comedian's so unique too. Like people have their own audience, like different audiences, like certain people. And
it's fascinating how much people judge y'all in the first 10 seconds.
Right.
And how
freaking
correct or incorrect
that?
they are. And it's like that can kind of dictate your set right there. It's just the way you walk on stage and look at the crowd. And then instantly you have people like,
this bitch.
Yeah,
this
fuck.
Barbie bitch.
One of these, huh?
Okay, she's just here to be cute. She's just trying to be. Yeah, I've been told like you're too nice to do comedy.
Too nice.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
I'm like, after you know, I don't.
Yeah. you
like,
just punch
what's
them.
What's wrong? Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
What a weird statement. You're too nice to make people laugh.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, okay, man, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll shake it off. That's fine with me.
Did you find what was the acronym for the mom's show? The MOPS.
Oh, MOPS, Mothers of Preschoolers.
Yeah. I would assume the Mothers of Preschoolers group are psyched about having a comic come in.
Yeah.
So did you see any difference performing for a group like that versus a club where people are like, let's see what's happening tonight? Were they just more psyched to watch it, or did it not really matter?
I think that they're more psyched to watch it. I think that...
Does it make sense? Like sometimes at a club, it's like, make me laugh.
Yeah. They didn't cut, the MOPS, like they're all there for a common reason. The club, I guess they're all there to laugh, but they have no idea. It's a little bit more, a little less warm. The audience is maybe more.
You can tell
like
how many of the free tickets were given out,
exactly.
and people are like, let's see what this is about.
And then, you get this school of thought, women getting on stage, like how you want to look, what you want to talk about. There's a little bit of schools of thought and what women should and whatever do.
Go on.
Stage.
What are your schools of thought on it?
Oh, I mean, like you just get this. So I don't know if this is even true. This is like typical podcast talk. Like I don't know if it's true, but I'm gonna talk about it.
But I want to hear it, because how many other female comics are out there? It's like I don't know how much you talk about that, but there's a lot to think about that's different from a female comic and a male comic taking the stage.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of it is either spoken about in a very like quick-witted kind of snarky way of like, oh, it's just that or it's just that, rather than saying like, well, no, what is it?
Right.
You know?
I have heard, and I would love to hear your perspective too of as many shows you've been in. So typically, if the audience member, if they're on dates, the woman is going to be the one that is setting the tone for how the date is going.
Okay.
So if you were on a date and a girl comes on stage, typically, which I would love to change, and I think it's changing, for girls on dates, it can be a little bit like, who is this girl on stage?
Really?
Yeah. And this may get a lot of comments on this, but
I mean, if that's your perspective, though,
right?
You know?
It's like I just don't know if we're as like I think if a guy gets on stage, like girls are just like, oh yeah, guy, you know, and then girls we're getting better, I think, at cheering each other on. Have you seen Barbie, by the way?
Not yet.
Ah, no. You guys,
we're trying to find time to go.
Yeah. That girls, we gotta like cheer each other on a little bit, but you know, you just wanna. You don't want to seem intimidating, but you want to be yourself, I guess. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be like too sexy because you don't want to be.
It's been so eye-opening though to hear, you know, just even on this podcast, like the different women's opinions about that type of thing.
Oh,
because,
really? Yeah.
Yeah, because the male comics that come on the show, it's like they don't think about it.
Right.
They just go up on stage. You know, and you know, whether it's true or not, it's like it's definitely in y'all's mind.
Right, it is. Like, what do I wear? And then there's someone who's just like, F it. Like, I can wear what I want. I can be hot if I want to be hot tonight. I can be dorky if I want to be dorky tonight. But there is a little bit of like this, I don't know if it's perceived or if it's true. It depends on the girl, but a little bit of like, oh, who's this girl? You know, like, don't be like that. But
I've definitely seen more, like, I didn't expect to see so many dudes that, you know, I know, like friends of friends or something, being like, chicks just aren't funny.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, but, you know, you'll catch them watching a TikTok or something and they're laughing and it's like, you thought that was funny, you know. And it's weird how that is in there though. And
totally. It is a little bit like you have more to prove. I feel like a little bit more to respect to gain more quickly.
Like someone was on here, I think it might have been Denise Lee, I can't remember, but she was like, or Bridget Tooley, I don't know.
Yes,
but she was saying how like when she's the only comic on the only female comic on the show, she feels all this extra pressure. Like, you know, they're gonna, if I do poorly, they're gonna think all women suck at comedy.
Yeah, right.
And how
That's
that
funny.
Really doesn't happen for dudes.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, it's just stuff I didn't think about.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it's true or not, but
right.
she's feeling that way
Right.
on stage. It's very interesting.
And it like every girl, of course, is going to be different in the audience. Every female is going to be different on stage too. Everybody has their own philosophy. And
why do you think there are fewer women in comedy compared to men?
it's a great freaking question.
Why, like, is it just because we're like idiots and we're like, I'll go talk about my dick, like, you
right?
know, or like
dick jokes? Yeah, we just didn't get as much experience with dick jokes growing up. We didn't have
no, but really, what do you think it is? Because clearly women are just as funny. It's just but they're also factually there just aren't as many doing it. You know, like y'all really are like in the scene. It's like when you look at these show posters, it's like unless you're consciously thinking about balancing it out, there are just more dudes doing it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Why do I think that?
Or have you ever even thought about it?
Yeah, no, I've gotten a little bit of flack for being like, you're a mom doing, like, shouldn't you be with your kids? Like, I've gotten that before. I've gotten, you don't do this enough. You're like, you can't win. Which comedy's actually really great because the kids go to bed pretty early. So it's like, oh, this is a perfect night job. And their dad is good dad, supportive. And so I think that's maybe why there's not a lot of young moms or moms of young kids doing comedy. I think, though, with parenting, that somebody asked me this. They're like, you still have time for this? I'm like, when you have kids, you find time to do the things that you actually like.
Yeah.
It narrows and solidifies your focus in a way that's very helpful because it's like, no, this is stuff that I actually like. Now I'm not just messing around. This is stuff that I actually enjoy.
Yeah.
But in terms of
do you remember before you had kids when you thought you didn't have time? Do you remember that fucking idiot back then?
Oh my god!
We're just like, man, I just don't have time to get stuff done.
I know.
And now it's like, God, I can work a calendar like nobody's business.
Right?
You know?
I have to be like super gracious to my friends that don't have kids in comedy. Where I'm like, tell me more.
When I see someone without kids, single, and they're like, I just can't get anything done. I'm like, you just fucking suck.
Yeah,
like,
right?
You don't know. Like, you have so much time.
Yeah, you have so much time. Be a little more efficient. Yeah, totally. But I think women are kind of crushing it on social media comedy too, which isn't the same. I tried. That's a whole different ball game. Like they've done some things with the dad, which is hilarious, and I love that social media. But that's a whole like I wouldn't have time for stand up if I did social media comedy. And
really?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Would you want to do that like full time?
I don't know. Sometimes I think I have a really good idea. It's so much harder to film something than you think it is. Like the average, you can be like, oh, this is going to be freaking funny. And you try to film it and you're like, this is not in my
What do you
head.
mean? Like at your regular shows, it's hard to just to film something?
Just to do like little sketch comedies
Oh,
for
I
social
get what you're
media.
saying. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
like
Yeah.
no. Yeah, I just think about all the girls on social media that have like really funny, maybe it's just my algorithm, just like silly videos. I
Yeah.
mean, guys are crushing it too on there. But
Yeah, and that stuff, it's just, I don't know. It's like anybody who's doing something like, podcast, performing, whatever,
Yeah.
you think about promotion like that all the time. And then I just catch myself thinking like, how much of this are we going to put out there?
Right.
Like even a podcast, it's
Yeah.
like there's so many podcasts,
Yeah.
Yeah.
People love them though.
I know. And then I look in those skits, it's like people love watching it.
Yeah.
It's like you said earlier, it's like there's no cap on how
Right.
much funny stuff you can watch.
Right.
You can just keep going and
Totally.
going and going. So
Totally.
Yeah.
I think that there, historically haven't been as many visibly women in comedy, and so I think that it's kind of coming out now that there's a lot more, and I think that, I don't know, dudes, maybe, I don't know why. Why do you think that there's?
I don't know. I think about it a lot, like just driving or something sometimes. Because even for this show, it's like I'll try to have balance, but I don't want to just say like, got to get a woman on here.
Yeah, you wanna do the
like I want to
percentage.
stay true to like I need to enjoy their comedy.
Yeah.
And it'll go in waves, And I guess probably part of that is I'll end up going to a show that is a like female booked show
Right.
on purpose, right? And I don't know. I think a lot of it is probably like I want to say men maybe have less like fear of being like less shame in a sense.
Yeah.
But then again, like how many of these dudes are like weird introverts
Right,
and are
right.
totally afraid of being judged. So
Right.
I don't think it's that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a lot of women just don't think it's something they can do.
Yeah, totally.
Or like, like when you were in your sorority, like dudes, for instance, like, I grew up playing sports and it's like you just give people shit all the time,
Yeah.
right? And like you're constantly just cracking jokes
Yeah,
at each other's
yeah.
expense. Are y'all doing that in a
No,
sorority?
not as much. Not
So
as
maybe
in
it's
a
something to do
different
with
way.
that where it's like you're just not as
How we treat each
jokey
other.
as because like dudes are pretty shitty to each other,
Yeah.
but that's your like,
Right.
it's our love language.
Right.
And,
Yeah, we're like, no, ours is actually, we're nice to each other sometimes.
I wonder if
could
it's
be.
something like that where it's like just in high school and college, you're not giving each other shit all the time.
Yeah,
You're actually being
yeah.
nice to each other.
Dude, that could
I don't
be
know.
it.
I don't know.
It could be it.
It's real interesting because I think it's slowly balancing out.
Right.
Like it's going to get there.
Oh, I can do that. I can go to this bar that some of
Yeah.
it's like I go to a bar and I do what and I sign up where and I don't know if it's that like the anxiety of just not knowing how to do it or how to start or where to go, where to park, those things. But
Do you remember the first female comic you saw? Not like a peer, but like this comic that's doing it. I think that might be some of it too.
Right. Well, luckily my family was super goofy. Thank goodness. Like we were not afraid to be goofy around each other. I feel like I've always kind of had my parents' separation and divorce when I was young was pretty traumatic. There's a lot of traumatic things that went down in like custody battles. And so I read this in Steve Martin's book where he's like, the only prerequisite for comedy is to have a little bit of a rough childhood. And I feel like that does help. Like, I don't know, like I just remember laughing at really inappropriate times. But I think that in that my family, in all of our own ways, we healed and we grew together and we allowed ourselves to be goofy in the hardships of whatever we were going with. So I feel really grateful for that. I feel grateful for a family that like just allowed me to be kind of weird and goofy. And
maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's still a lot of, leftover stuff from the,
Right.
30s, 40s, and 50s of like, women don't do this.
Yes.
Women are proper.
Yes.
We're not silly.
Like,
I'm
yeah.
gonna sit still,
Yeah.
Maybe it's just that. Like, women are just now getting the freedom to be goofy.
Right,
And silly like that.
Yeah, totally. Because, I feel like there was always, you got to be pretty and sexy or hot or whatever. And it's like, you can be a whole ass woman. You could be all those things. You could be funny. You can be goofy. And it doesn't take away from your femininity or, you're.
Yeah, I think the first female comics I would have seen would have probably been like Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Like the people doing sketch, because I wouldn't have seen any big name stand-ups.
Right. I don't think I was even thinking on Whose Line. Maybe like Amanda, maybe All That. Whoever was on All That, Swag and Bag and Mary.
But it really was just, like there were female stand-up comics. There was like Joan Rivers.
Yes, yeah.
But I guess before that it really was just TV, like Lucille Ball or somebody like that.
Yeah, just like TV sketch, Amanda Bynes or whoever.
And it's crazy to think like she was like a trailblazer. They're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And it seems so tame now.
Yeah, right? It does. I remember when I saw Linda Stogner, I just that was phenomenal.
Linda is one of the people that like I'll never forget the first time I saw her.
Yeah.
Because the first time when you don't know any of her bit, when you don't know any of her personality, she is a fucking character.
Yeah, she is. And
it's
she knocks you on the head. She knows what you're thinking about her.
Yeah. And
I wish I knew that.
And it's like, I didn't learn about any of her history until later.
Yeah.
But, I remember the first time watching her, I was thinking, how is she putting on this act, like this deception, right? How is she putting on this quirky, weird character so well, so convincingly? And then, like, as the years go by, you learn more about her life, and you're like, she is a quirky, weird character.
She is.
And she just learned how to, like, embrace it.
Yes.
She is definitely...
so good.
I've had a few conversations with her, like, just hanging out around Backdoor or something, and I love talking to her every chance I get.
She's great.
But she's
the first. When I get a private gig that's like an hour, I'm like, Linda, I'll open for you. Can you do this? Yeah.
I want her and her club to be like the spot in DFW.
Yeah. There's
something about, maybe it's just because she's a comic and she's an artist.
Right.
That there's something that you just love about it more. Mm-hmm. But anybody I bump into who's never watched comedy shows before, I'm like, you should check this out first.
Yes.
Yeah. I think you have a better experience at that than going to like a bigger place that isn't like as thankful that you're there spending money and watching comedy.
Right.
And I don't know, there's an energy there that I just like so much more.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
But it'll never be like a wildly profitable place because it's just small.
Right.
Like you just can't sell that many tickets,
It's like seedy, that dark, seedy vibe.
I know, but isn't that
good.
great?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what you want.
I love it.
You want that like grungy New York City vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, I want the comics that are touring in from out of town, playing the big clubs or doing whatever, to just pop in.
Yeah.
Like go to Backdoor, do a quick 10 minutes and blow some people's minds.
Quaint.
And it's like, you don't need the money.
Yeah.
You already made whatever money off this place.
Come on. Come be where the artist. Come be in the
artist. I met someone who worked for the city of Richardson, and they were in they had something to do with like development. Like they helped decide what went in certain shopping malls or something to make sure like the city's growing in a nice way. And I was like, oh, so have you been over to Backdoor? And they're like, you know what? I was like, you work for the city? And they're like, yeah. I was like, Backdoor Comedy Club. I was like, it's over here. It's off Main.
That's great.
And they're like, how do I not know about? We're going this weekend.
Yes.
It's like, man. So it's like if it's flying under the radar.
Yes.
On that level.
Right.
It's like how big?
We need some strategy.
How big could it be? Could this thing be sold out 4 or 5 nights a week?
Yeah.
There
isn't. That's can be tricky with a creative genius mind. Is sometimes there isn't as much as the logistical, strategic. How to make this a big deal. How to make this known.
Well, how do you do it? Because you have a business background.
Right. Oh, you just got to put time and effort into it. You got to research
how would you do it?
If I was in charge of Backdoors
or just it doesn't have to be Backdoor, any little club, and you've got the balance of the artistic mind and the business mind.
Oh, I would come up with some hilarious viral guerrilla marketing campaign that would have people sharing it or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. And then I would do it strategically. I mean, obviously, like buy ads and somehow whatever the analytics are behind that. That's not my area of software. I do software, but not that area of software. Yeah,
you're like, I just do sex robots. That's all I program.
Yeah, that's a specialty. It's on it's all the rage right now too. That's so funny.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So I would do something like that. I'd spend a lot of time thinking about. Yeah, people just like to feel like they're part of something funny like that. One of those.
It's tricky, right?
It is tricky
because I think that's what's so special about places like the Comedy Cellar in New York, the Comedy Store in LA, is there's like a community that's like, oh, this is our club. We love going here. And that's one of the things we don't have in DFW yet is people will go to the clubs.
Right.
But I keep hearing these statistics about like, I don't know, 50% of the room, it'll be their first time at a show. And it's like, how do you not have, 80% of the people as return people? It's very strange, but we don't have that sense of this is my club. This is a place I'm definitely going to go to once a month or something.
Right.
And it's strange to think how you build that.
Right. I think comedy, what's good about Backdoor too, I mean, people love comedy, but I think it can have this like really dirty connotation that sometimes keeps people away, or they're just like, I don't know what I'm going to hear at a comedy club. At least in the world that I came from.
I do remember being a little terrified the first time I saw a show. Like I remember thinking like, is there like a dress code?
Yes.
Like, will they kick me out if I don't wear? I had no idea.
Yeah.
And then just being terrified that even though you're 5 rows back,
right,
like, they're going to pick on me and they're going to insult me, and it's like, no.
And when you seat at a club, the owner or whoever is like, they want you to put them right in the front.
Up front.
And they're like, I don't want to sit there. I'm like, you have to sit here or else no one's going to laugh. There is a lot to like, which is interesting. Just I've heard of like, hey, how the room is filled up, the lights, the ceiling height, like all of these things matter a lot to how hard supposedly people are going to laughing. But I mean, I've seen it too, but I met somebody who works for the city recently. He told me he was in emergency management.
Which city?
For like Plano.
Okay.
But he was talking, he's like, yeah, I work in emergency management. And I was like, first of all, what the heck is that? Like you needed a manager tomorrow? Like I was so confused. And I was like, I need a manager now. And he was like, no, I work for like the city of Plano.
Somebody give me a manager.
So I need one right now. He's like, no, I work like when there's like
I manage emergencies.
Yeah. I was like, okay, that makes sense. So he's like the ones like putting out all the like I think even Amber Alert, like he's in charge of the fire
text dot,
all those things. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, man.
I just love the initial like. How often do you guys need managers on short notice like that?
Because I work in consulting, so I'm like, emergency management, yeah. Give me a manager. I don't know what to do.
Oh my God. Oh, before I forget, we have something in common that we have to talk about, which is Bell's palsy.
Stop.
Yeah, I had Bell's palsy.
Oh my gosh, what side?
Left side. Left side of the face.
It's still, my face has never been the same.
Really?
Man.
I feel like mine's all the way back, but
yeah, how long ago?
It happened when did it happen? I don't know. It was during the pandemic. We had my son, so I think it was his first or second Halloween.
No way.
So what is it?
Perfect timing.
Oh my God. It was literally, I'll show you later, but I've got this great picture where like I'm trying to smile and I can't, and he's in a little scarecrow outfit just crying, and it looks like he's crying at my morphed face.
Oh my God.
But no, what I was going to ask you is, first of all, like how did you know something was wrong?
Yeah.
Like for instance, I was taking a shower that morning. And now when I'm thinking back, I didn't realize like soap was getting in my eye because I couldn't close it. I just thought like, oh, I got some soap in my eye, And then I get out of the shower and I'm like brushing my teeth and like something's feeling weird. And I look in the mirror and I'm going, oh my God. And I know the signs of a stroke.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I'm like trying to raise my eyebrows and my arms and everything.
Yeah.
I run out. I'm still naked from the shower.
Yeah.
Sorry if you're picturing this, but I'm trying to lose weight.
And
so
spicy chili.
So I run into the living room and I'm just like, I'm having a stroke, like yelling at my wife. And my wife, she works in healthcare, specifically in neurology.
Oh my God.
So she like sits me down and it gives me like a little exam. Yeah. And she's like, you're not having a stroke, you're having Bell's palsy. And I'm like, we're going to the fucking emergency room. I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
like
going naked.
Straight panic mode.
Yeah.
And she's like, we're going to be fine.
Wow,
she's like,
what a babe.
She's like, we'll go to this place. We'll go in here because I can get you in there right now. If we go to the ER, it's going to be. And she's like, I got to run off and do this thing real quick. And then when I get back, it'll be open and we'll come in. And so I'm sitting there like on the couch, naked, half my face not working.
With a baby.
Yeah. And I just remember looking at her and I was just like, look, you're probably right. But if you're not, and this is a stroke, and I get worse by the time you're gone and come back, I was like, you're never leaving me, and I will never, let you forget about this.
That is
you will
so-
hear
you're
about
changing
this.
my diapers.
And I was just like,
Yeah.
do you understand?
Yeah.
And she's like almost laughing at me because
Yeah.
she knows it's Bell's. And she's like, it'll be fine. And then, of course, like 6 months later, she's like, I probably shouldn't have gone. I probably should have just stayed there with you. And I was like, oh, great, thanks.
You're like so sweet.
But do you remember, like, did you
Yeah.
panic and think stroke?
Yes.
Or like, so
Yes.
what was happening? Was it like morning, night?
It was night.
Yeah.
It was awful. It was one of the most stressful nights. Was the night we got home from the hospital with the twins.
Oh, that night.
It was that night. And we got back on a Sunday, and I had to have a C-section with the twins, and so I was supposed to get pain medicine, but all of the pharmacies were closed because it was a Sunday. And I was like, if I'm about to feel all of this pain, I also had to have blood transfusions after the twins were born. My twins were huge, like 7 pounds 9 ounces, 6 pounds 9 ounces, like full, full term, and that night, was so bad. So I had my son. My son was sick. We got back. Their dad's parents had been watching our son, who was 2 at the time, and he was sick. He like dropped him off. He was sick. He had some sort of like sinus infection. They went to a petting zoo and he licked everything, or whatever. And so we have twins. He's sick. I need some pain medicine, but it's like 7:00 on a Sunday. Nothing's open. Their dad, who is a really good dad, for the record, he had like fallen asleep, and I really needed it, and I was like, but I couldn't get up, and I was like yelling for his name. I don't know, everything was so stressful, and I remember I all of a sudden felt my face. Like I think it was caused by
Like while you were yelling, you noticed it? Or?
Yeah, or I was just like, no one's coming. I need to do this myself, or something like that. Like that panic and that anxiety. Because I had passed out after I had the twins too. Like, so it had been a really stressful few days. Like the nurse was like, get up and walk and go wash your hands, like right after surgery. It's crazy. And you're like, okay, I'm watching. And then I turned and I looked, and my mom was in the room. Thank God, my mom was in the room, and the nurse was like, did you wash your hands? And I'm like, oh, and I turned to go back, and then right there I'm standing up, like right after, I don't know, whatever, hours after surgery, and my mom catches me. And then they're like, oh, you need some blood transfusions. Like, you're pale. Like, looking at all those pictures. Anyway, so that night, all of this background stories, that night, I'm like, no one's, like, this is up to me to, like, make sure I'm okay, to, like, my son needed something, or I don't know. And that's when I felt it.
When you felt it, like, you just, like...
I was like, something's wrong. I thought I was having a stroke.
Yeah.
It was not. It is.
Did you like
just
run to the
crazy.
mirror?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think it felt like my whole face was like that. Though it wasn't just like one side where I was just like, something's wrong, and then their dad was like, oh, this is serious. No one is in medical care in our family. We had no idea, and I was like, something's wrong. Like I'm having a stroke, or I don't know what. And of course, you felt bad, and then.
So was it like immediately to the ER, or like what did you do?
I think I waited the next morning.
You waited?
I think I waited.
Oh my God.
I think I was too tired. I think I was like,
That blows
honestly,
my
if I
mind.
die, fine. I was probably a little depressed.
Yeah,
Like, yeah. I
Ooh.
mean, I have got.
I can't believe you waited.
Yeah. I think I waited.
Did you know anything about
No.
Bell's palsy before?
No.
So you just thought, well, face is fucked, whatever.
fucked.
Like, that was it?
All right. Well.
Oh my God.
It's been a good 29 years, face. Thank you. I was just like, I thought my face was like, hey, we're turning off right now. Like, there's too much. Like, my face
Oh my
was just like,
God.
we're no longer online. And then I remember going to the doctor, and she's like, yeah, it's Bell's palsy. Maybe I called the emergency line, my OB's emergency line. I think that's what I did. But in all the pictures, I remember, first.
How long did yours last?
Like 6 months, yeah.
Damn.
But it was the pandemic too, and so it was like nobody was going anywhere, thank goodness. But in all my pictures with the twins, I'm like, I remember my sister came to visit, and she's like, smile, and I was like,
Fuck you.
I was like, I'm smiling on the inside, like I have so many pictures. Now it's hilarious, and I got jokes out of it, you know. But
it's super funny now, but
yeah.
So I had the better end of it.
Okay, good.
So mine was, I think, right at 2 months.
Yeah.
And then it started coming back.
Yeah.
And so I think by 3 months, I was like, good to go.
Yeah.
But I also think, and like, for people who don't know much about Bell's palsy, like, they don't know much about it either.
Right.
They know that there's a nerve that's inflamed,
Right.
and that shuts everything off because it passes through a hole in the bone.
Yeah.
So when it's inflamed, it's just like, ooh, too much pressure, we're turning off.
Yeah.
And so basically, they don't know if it's like a viral infection of some kind,
So interesting.
or if it's just stress.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know what they gave you, but like I got lucky because of my wife's connections. I was able to be there that day and get like
steroid or whatever.
It was within like probably 3 or 4 hours. I had like steroids and anti-inflammatories and antiviral or whatever they gave me. And so I think that's the only reason mine went so quickly, because I thought about it. I was like, man, if we had gone to the ER, you know, they would have done all these tests for a stroke that would have come back negative, and they'd be like, yeah, just go see a neurologist. And it might take me 2 weeks to see one.
Yeah.
And then it might take me, so it might be 3 weeks to a month before I get that medication.
Right.
Was that your scenario? Like, did it take a while to get
I think I got it within the next couple of days. My OB was like, my OB is pretty good at, she was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Bell's palsy. And she's like, are you stressed? Do you want to get on some anxiety medicine? I'm like, yeah, what do you do? I'm freaking stressed. Of course I'm stressed.
Yeah.
And so was put on anxiety medicine too then. That was when. And I don't think it was the right anxiety. It was okay. Like, it definitely helped some. But the last 8 months of my life, 9 months, I've been in counseling and got on some different medicine, which has helped tremendously.
That's good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was such a wild freaking time, man.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I joined a.
You're like, are my kids going to be able to know how to smile? Like, are they going to learn how to smile, or are they going to smile like me now?
It was the first time that I had something that I felt like totally defined my existence when you're in public.
Yeah. People don't know where to look.
Right. And they don't know what the fuck's wrong with you. They don't know if you were in an accident, if you're born like this.
Yeah.
And I'm a chatty person.
Yeah.
So like at that time, I would take my dog to the dog park off like Swiss Avenue over here in Dallas. There was a really nice dog park. And
a really nice dog park.
Well, no, it was this beautiful, like for the people in Dallas, there's the big White Rock Lake Dog Park, which is cool, but it sucks because it's so busy and it gets like out of control. Right. And there, for a while, they closed it now, but for a while there was this hidden little gym in off Swiss Avenue, close to Deep Ellum. There's like this historical area of homes that are all like nonprofit businesses, and they just took care of this park like out of the kindness of their hearts. I guess.
Of course.
They've since closed it. I think people abused it, but I would go to.
What an awful ending to that story.
I know. I would take my dog down there, and it's like part of the reason I think I started this podcast is like people just talk to me for whatever reason, and so I can chat with whoever, right? I can bullshit, and all of that stopped because all of a sudden you're talking funny, and people don't know how to, and like the charm that you had is it's not working anymore because you have this weird thing, and it's like, and then your self-confidence just goes down the drain, and it was real strange. And then I got worried. I had to join I joined like a Bell's palsy group on Facebook or something because I had so many, your mind's racing, you know? And then that was probably worse because I saw these stories of people where it's like, mine never got better. Yeah. And I'm just like, fuck. Yeah. This could be permanent. Yeah. And, you know, so then I just was like, I don't think I got depressed, but I was very close because it's just like, if this is the rest of my life, you know, and I was doing this podcast, so I was like, I can't, you know, like I was doing, at the time I wasn't filming. So the voiceovers and stuff I was doing, I was like holding my mouth to be able to enunciate correctly. And it was just driving me crazy. And so, like, I'd try to interview someone, and I was, like, holding my face a little bit. Yeah. Like, that is so... Yeah. But mine was only, like I said, like 2 months. So when you're hitting the 6-month mark, are you thinking this is it? It was slowly getting better before 6 months. But, I mean, I remember, I think I did a show, you know, if things were virtual. I think I did a show where it was still, I can still see it. So I have video of me doing a show, which is kind of fun looking back now. But before, I was like, I was like, guess this is me, my shtick. I'm going to be the sad face girl. You know, I was kind of like, finally, something to differentiate me from the rest of the world is her face is frozen. You know, these other guys got it. Paul Smith's walking around with a cane. No, what's my thing? What's his name? Josh Blue. You know Josh Blue? He has cerebral palsy. He's freaking hilarious. He's a local guy? No, he's on Last Comic Standing. He's pretty famous. Like, and touring comic. But you know what's funny is now there's like a surge of cerebral palsy comics. Probably because of him, man. There's a guy named Aaron Belial right now. Have you seen him? No. His palsy affects his speech. Okay, nice. So he does not talk. Yeah. And he does stand up. Oh, it's freaking beautiful. So he's got a phone app of some kind that speaks for him. So he's up there doing like Stephen Hawking stand-up. That's freaking hilarious. And I don't know if he has like pre-programmed words or what, but he like shuffles through stuff real quick. So he can do like quick responses. Like he could do a little crowd work if he needed to. Stop it. That's incredible. That's so cool. And he's had like, I think he just went on America's Got Talent and he's like blowing up now. Yeah. But I got real fortunate. I found his Instagram, just stumbled upon it somehow. Yeah. And he went from like nothing. That's cool. Like he was very, very funny. Yeah. And then he did like some Kill Tony stuff, and
Yeah.
then America's Got Talent, and I think now he's kind of like doing it.
Yeah.
But it was so fascinating
Yeah.
to see. And it's like I caught myself going like, oh, so Palsy's not even like a big deal anymore. Or like all these Palsy comics. Like,
Well, good thing my palsy went away. I would have just not been unique again, you know? Freaking A. Yeah, that's so, it's true. It's good for them. Good
it's weird,
for
isn't
them.
it? It's crazy how much stand-up is opening up right now.
I love it.
In those senses.
I was hosting a mic, and like, didn't have a ramp, which they probably should have a ramp. But yeah, the guy was performing in a wheelchair, and so I just brought him the mic. He was freaking so fun. I was like, this is great. This is amazing. And
so they had no ramp? Was he just on the floor
he was
then?
just, in
front of the stage?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's stuff you just don't think about, right? Yeah.
I mean, he did so great. And I don't, when you had Bell's palsy, did you look up famous people that had Bell's palsy? Or were you?
Probably. I was Googling everything I could about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know about you, but I was desperate for my face to come back.
Of course.
So it's like, stuff that I knew wouldn't work,
right.
I was doing.
Yeah.
So like, the massage guns?
Yeah.
Like the Theragun or whatever. Oh, I was just sitting in there. I was like, this is going to stimulate the nerve somehow and it'll be restored.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, no, dummy.
I was looking up acupuncture. I was looking up. So Angelina Jolie is one of the most famous.
Okay.
And I was like, that just means when my face is healed, I'm going to look like Angelina
There you
Jolie.
go.
Hell yeah, man.
Did hers fully recover?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she did acupuncture. Like, I feel like you did the more scientific approach to research this where you actually know. And I was like, oh, Angelina Jolie did acupuncture. Let me go on Groupon and see if I can get an acupuncture.
But that was the problem with the group. I think that's what was making me less optimistic is you saw these people who were so desperate for stuff to work.
Yeah.
And they were using all this snake oil.
Yes.
Right? And you're just like, damn, they did this, they did that, they did that, and it's not coming back. It's like, fuck,
and I remember a nurse was like, well, I've seen a lot of people where it doesn't come back. And you're like,
Jesus.
And it's more of that shame of what other people are putting on you, like, oh, sorry about that. And you're like, I'll be fine. Like, it is that, like, you kind of can get in this mentality of, like, oh, no. If I am stuck like this, people are looking at me like this way. And it's like, I don't know.
It's like I would have figured it out.
Yeah, right.
But I didn't want to,
totally.
And
you didn't have to at that time. Like, you don't have to figure everything out in one day either. Like,
I have a, my hair's longer now so you can't see it, but I had a massive head injury when I was really young, and so I have a big scar on the back of my head from a craniotomy that they had to do.
Yeah.
And so I had that scar since first or second grade.
Wow.
And so it's like I was used to that.
Yeah.
But I think there was something about that being on the back of my head where it's like I didn't see it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it really ever registered that I had it.
Right.
Whereas every time I look in the mirror, every time I take I had to use straws.
Yeah.
Or I'm just dribbling all over myself.
Gosh,
And I hated that.
Freaking funny, man.
And
and not. And you
my favorite moment that I can laugh about now, but I was like very angry, was so this happened I think the week of Halloween. So in
2020?
No, you know what? It would have been 2021. So my son, because 2020 we didn't do anything for the trick-or-treaters because we were like heat of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so I think by October 21, we had trick-or-treaters in our neighborhood. Everybody felt pretty good about it. And so I was like, we had gotten excited. I had this plan. Like, this is the first time, because the home we owned before this house was a condo. So we didn't get trick-or-treaters. Right. So this was the first, like, we're in a neighborhood. They're going to come by. And everybody was doing it in the front yard, so you didn't have to, like, knock on doors and stuff that year. And we had just set up, like, a big bucket. So we were still kind of distancing because of COVID. So we just had a bucket that the kids could go out, and we were sitting in the front yard, and the family came over. And since my son's little, he was like going to bed, and my wife's like, hey, if you can just hang out here while the kids are coming home. I was like, no. And she's like, what? I was like, I'm not sitting out here with half a fucking face being like, come on up, kids, there's free candy. And just being the weirdo who's like trying to sneak the kids in.
Jason mask.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to be the weird dude by himself that's like, just come get some candy. And
kids, would be like, what's wrong with your face? Like, kids are so honest.
And I'm like, I'm very upset that she's about to like leave me out here alone. Like, I haven't met a bunch of these neighbors that are coming by, so they're all just looking at me. And it's like little stuff, like even when you're like, when you laugh, like a real laugh that you don't expect, it's like, but your mouth's kind of open, so it's like a little spittle comes out, and you're like, God, I'm a weirdo. And she was laughing at me, like, you'll be fine. And I was like, I am putting him down to bed or something, And now I can really laugh about that. But at the moment, I was just like, I hate life because I still hadn't even like come to terms with like
right,
I had it,
course,
you know?
Of course, yeah.
And but even that, like it was so eye opening because it's like, man, I had Bell's palsy for 2 to 3 months, and I'm sitting here acting like a little bitch about it. And there's somebody out there who like lost a foot,
yeah,
and they have like real problems,
right.
Like, and they're
that one person listening that lost a foot.
Yeah,
we love you.
Yeah, there's somebody out there with a weird, horrific injury who's like, oh, your face didn't work for a little bit.
Yeah, right. Oh, boo, boo, boo.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It was very eye opening of like.
This is sponsored by Prosthetics
in
Dallas.
Well, like it's not a disability, but it's the closest thing I have to being like, if I was living with a disability, this is how everyone looks at you.
Right.
Like the grocery store, everything.
Even your friend, even my good friends would be like, I'm like, you can look at me. It's okay. Like, look at me.
I had to start wearing an eye patch.
No, you do it. I bet. Oh, because your eye dryness
is dry.
Yeah.
And you know what? I forgot. That's when I was training for. I was going to do my first marathon ever.
Oh my gosh!
So I'm trying to still run, and my eyes just wide open, just getting blasted with air. So I'm trying to. So basically, I'm running with an eye patch in my neighborhood.
Eye patch guy is kind of cool.
And
though.
then it was kind of cool, but like
not if you have to though.
Yeah, like if I had lost my eye from a cool story, but it's just because your face is a little droopy.
What's under there?
Yeah, it was. I remember I don't know, the joy of when I saw that first muscle twitch, and you're like, oh my god, okay, it is coming back.
Right? They're like, just rest and try not to stress about
don't
life.
Think about it.
Yeah, don't just rest, and you're like, okay, that's easy.
6 months though.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
Yeah, you do kind of be like, oh wait, how much did I rely upon for my confidence, my whatever? Yeah, but
you don't look like you have residual stuff, so you're the only one that notices it, right?
No, I totally notice it.
Yeah.
And if I smile too hard in pictures, I can see it a little bit. Like I know this doesn't go up as high, but yeah, man. It is one of those things where you're like, I almost feel bad because I was like, oh, thank God it's not a stroke. And I'm like, well, somebody is having a stroke or somebody has gone through a stroke. I'm like, I don't want to be a jerk. Like, and it just, I mean, it does give you, whatever would have happened, we probably would have just dealt with. You just deal with it and continue on. You don't have to think about what I would have done. But the people that still move forward with things like that, it's really, I mean, it is inspiring. It makes sense why it's inspiring.
The one person that I do remember seeing, because like I was watching a movie or something, I was angry. And I don't remember what movie it was, but it was Forrest Whitaker, and he's got that eye thing going on.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know what that's from, but I just remember thinking like, well, he made a career. And like he's in a career where your looks matter.
That's right. See, visibility matters, man.
I'll be all right.
I'll be okay.
But then like 30 minutes later, I'm like, I don't want to have to figure it out.
I don't want to be that. Do you know Dude Perfect?
Yeah.
So our friends, they're like acquaintances or whatever, and so I knew one of the wives, and she was like, oh one of the guys from Dude Perfect had Bell's palsy.
Oh, okay.
So she messaged me when she saw that and was like super nice, and then I had another friend that messaged me.
Yeah, I did realize there was a ton of people who have had it.
Yeah, but nobody like really talked about it.
No,
or like,
no.
Why you don't want to post selfies of your freaking stupid face? Like,
well, and I guess like I forget that I had it.
Yeah.
Like now I've gotten to the point where my wife reminds me, like, you remember when you had Bell's palsy?
Yeah,
I'm like,
isn't that
I did
crazy?
have Bell's palsy.
And it was so life-altering. It felt like that in the moment.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? It was just like, is this going to be my life?
Mm-hmm.
Where people don't know where to look when they're talking to me? Or that I really am calling my pharmacist and they can't understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. That is a fun bit, though.
Yeah. It is funny, the things that can come out of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What, how long of a set can you do right now? Because I saw you do a fairly short set.
Yeah, I can do 25.
25? Yeah. I feel like you have a lot more that you could do.
Oh, man. That is like... and
you have too much life experience at this point.
Oh, my gosh. I love it. I have, notes, so many notebooks of journaling. And I think making sure I don't lose track of some of it, and things that maybe I tried once and didn't work at a mic, like try to bring back some of the good ones and make it just work at it, work at those writing. And because I can do that too easily where I'll be like, try something. I'm like, something's there. Oh, it didn't work. I'm just going to move on to the next thing where I'm like, no, something could dig in there. Like I have a thigh gap thing that I tried years ago.
I really liked that.
And I was like, it worked with girls. And I think that this is another thing. I don't know why women, we feel like, are we only going to be funny around other girls? But like being funny to guys too. And so sometimes I'm like, oh, is this life experience only relatable to girls, you know? And then I'm not going to do it. But then you just find a way to make it better. And
your thigh gap joke, like if you're wondering if you can do it for other people, like the hard hit at the end of that joke about dropping your phone.
Okay, good.
That part is what got me.
Yeah.
Because, at first it's like, it's kind of relatable, but it's not, you know, right? But that moment, because it's
That's
like, well,
good.
everybody's in that scenario.
Yes.
And I know people listening are like, what? It's like, go watch a show.
Yeah, come on.
But I think that's the tricky part is because as soon as you hit that part, I was like, oh my God. Because then you just get the visual and it works so well. That's a funny bit though.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that maybe even going back to the male comedy world, I think women just finding a way, like a lot of times perspective maybe was told from the male perspective, so it's easier to find that stuff funny.
Yeah.
But for guys to know too, like, I don't know.
It's weird, right? Because as you're saying that, it's like that makes sense that like it would just be harder for me to relate.
Right.
But then have you heard of Mateo Lane?
Yes.
Okay. I just watched his special, Hair Plugs and Heartache, I think.
Nice.
Have you watched that yet?
No, but great line.
But he does a ton of material,
Yeah.
About being a gay man.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's totally, it's a similar lane of like, how are they going to relate?
Right.
And, it's like, I didn't catch myself thinking through the special like, oh, it's a bunch of gay jokes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he still crafts it.
Yeah.
But a ton of his material was about being a gay man still. So here's the way
you just got to be funny, man. I feel like that's what comes down to it.
Just be funny,
It's
Sylvia.
just right. I remember Linda, like years ago, Linda was like, it's good. You got something. And I don't say that to everyone. Like, you're good. You can do it, but keep writing. And I was like, okay, it's just like, just be better.
Yeah, just
be funnier.
Just do it
Just
good.
try harder. Yeah, do it good. Just, I don't know.
With your like family obligations and stuff, do you want to hit open mics now, or how do you handle your time?
That's
like
good.
how do you practice on your material?
Yeah, we're still figuring out our schedule right now, but at least one open mic a week, and then I usually I'll have a show. I mean, this week I have a show tomorrow and a show on Saturday, so I have 2 shows.
So do you like to splice in what you're working on in your shows, or do you like no, just keep it to the solid stuff?
It depends on the show.
Yeah.
If it's a high stakes show, then I will just keep the solid stuff. But if it's kind of like, just a fun show, then I'll put it all in the middle. Not all of it in the middle, but a lot of times the stuff that I'm working on, I'll put it in the middle because you want to hit them hard and then hit them hard at the end, hit them hard at the beginning and the end. So that's the fun part. I mean, I remember I talked to some comedians too that have a lot of life obligations, and they're like, yeah, I go to mics, but at the same time to the shows, do some new stuff. Who cares? Have fun.
Some of those mics, I wonder how much are people getting out of this,
Right.
And it's like I'm real weird. Like sometimes I will just go to the open mic.
It's not that weird.
And I'll sit through the whole
It makes 2 of us.
open mic.
Yeah.
And because I just want to see and like I don't know. I think if you love comedy at all as a fan, I think you really should just go watch an open mic. And I think it'll give you such a new perspective on like what it takes to craft a funny joke.
Yeah. So
right?
true.
And then I think by watching those open mics, it made me love professionals even more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you
Totally.
realize like, damn, that they worked on it,
Right. Right.
And then the flip side is you see someone who is like you can tell they're funny, but the material's not there. You can just like, good job.
Yeah.
And then like 6-7 months later, you'll catch them on like an actual show, and you're like, oh, they polished that up.
Yes.
That's very funny now. And so seeing that growth is really fun too.
That is.
But it seems like it's so hard to go like, which one of these are worth my time? Because you just don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
At the beginning, I had to do like a little bit different of a strategy just because of the intensity of how young my kids were too. There was a couple nights I did a ladies' nights for my friends, and I asked if I could practice material for them.
Oh.
So I had a big show. I did a 30-minute show like my first year for a big moms organization that was like paying me to come in and just do a show. And so I didn't have that much time that week to do all these open mics. And so I had friends when they just planned like a ladies' night. They're like, come and practice for us. And so I was able to practice, and then I got their feedback that night. And so I did 30 minutes of material, practice, which would take forever going to mics, doing that for a specific audience. And I just felt like I had to find a strategy that works for me and that's sustainable in my lifestyle right now. And so that was really cool because then the next day I was ready for that show or
That's
whatever it was a couple days later. Yeah. So
how did it translate from like your friends group to
the
actual stage?
Great.
Like was the feedback similar to the way the audience reacted?
It was good because they're like, yeah, maybe don't do that. Like they were really good at just knowing me and being like, that was weird. A lot of times I'll say something and I don't explain it enough. And so so then it translated. It was really, really good. A really successful strategy for me at that time. And
Palos Firo.
Yeah.
He was talking to me about it, and I never thought about it this way, but he's like, man, if you're a musician, he's like, you can just pick up your guitar and practice. He's like, and we might only get, 10 minutes this week to practice.
Yeah, you got to make it count,
Fuck, I didn't think about how hard it was to just try the material, in front of someone.
Yeah, it is. I do love like comedy can give you some sort of mental focus too, like driving, a lot of times, or if you're just struggling with something, I feel like if I go on a walk, I remember practicing for sets of like, this makes me focus on something instead of thinking about everything I'm anxious about or everything I'm worried about. Like it really makes your mind like, you have to focus. I like love that part of comedy. And I love, even when you went back and you were talking about seeing someone 6 months later, like who was the comedian that said, I was a 10-year overnight success?
Yeah, I've heard it, but I can't remember.
So good. It's so true. And I think that's what makes it so hard is in your local spot is no one really like thinks you're that great. You're okay, but it's because they've seen you so much and it's like nothing's new. It's very slow progress over time. Maybe, some people probably go quick progress, but I like always keep that in mind too of like the local community scene is like, yeah, we all see each other and
yeah. It's strange, that like I see y'all so much less than y'all see each other, and I go to a lot of shows.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, like it's so like I'll ask comics, I'll be like, have you watched this person?
Yeah.
And everybody's just trying to be civil, and they're like, yeah. I've seen them.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like, it's because it's like, I've seen them like 35 times.
Yeah, right. No one's famous in their own hometown. Like, what is that? I think that's
Yeah, and then you just go somewhere else and blow minds, right?
Right, yeah. You're like, I can't wait to go to Tulsa, man. This is going to rock. Friggin',
Yeah. I spend way too much time thinking about the mechanics of that. Because, like, I don't have enough money to do any of the stuff that I would like to do.
Yeah.
But I would love to run all these little experiments of, like, I want to open a little club this way that way and see... Because the dynamics of like a scene are very strange.
Yes.
And I don't really understand them yet.
Yes.
Like I'm still just kind of observing.
Yeah.
And I think there's still a ton of stuff I don't know that I don't know.
Right.
Right. But it's really weird.
It's a sign of genius, though,
What? Oh, not knowing things?
Knowing that you don't know a lot of things.
Oh, well, I mean, just, it's so easy to be like, why don't they just do that?
Yeah.
And it's like, I bet someone 10 years ago tried to do that and it didn't work for some specific reasons. And you can't just go through all the reasons why it didn't work. But
I am surprised there hasn't been more like reality TV about the underground communities or comedy scene.
Yeah, that's one of the things. I wish I had more money to hire people to do that.
So cool.
Like, I thought it would be so fun to just pick. I don't know how logistically it would work, but it's like every month there's new open micers, right? And there needs to be someone documenting open micers from the start.
Yeah.
Like just continuously.
So cool.
And just seeing the failure and the success and
real
all the
world
different
comedy.
Yeah, but like not like a cheesy reality show, but like genuinely like so and so went to 6 mics this week and they fucking sucked. And like and then like if you could actually follow someone for like so 5 years and just see the shit and just pull the highlights out,
That would be amazing.
But I mean, logistically, how do you do that? Like, you'd have to tell people, like, here's a camera. Every time you're on stage, film yourself. Every time you're in a green room, film yourself.
Right. And then, I mean, so much of that relationship building amongst the community, too, is just BSing with each other outside and waiting and hanging out, having a beer, seltzer water, whatever people like nowadays. But yeah,
it's very weird.
It is weird. Yeah, it is. There's so much like
And there's all these, I've noticed, like everything has clicks, but there's it seems like every comic has like trust issues.
Oh, yeah. That's a good extrapolation.
Yeah, I mean, everyone thinks they're about to get fucked over by somebody.
Oh, we don't trust each other. together. Oh my gosh. I do feel like I have found a lot of really good friends recently, friends in comedy too, guys and girls. But yeah, I mean, it is still, it's like, I don't, like, everyone's like, are you friends with me because you want me to book you on a show? And you're like, no, I think I just want to be friends with, like, can we just like
just hanging out?
No, I don't care. I can get booked. I don't need you to book me. If it helps that we work together, great. But if not, maybe we shouldn't. We're just both weird, so that's why we want to be friends. Yeah, but I had a girls' night with some comics on Saturday, and it was so freaking fun. There's 6 of us female comics out on a girls' night. It was so great.
I think I want to do like a once a year, like just like a party or something.
Oh, that'd be fun.
That's only because this show is musicians and comics and then like whoever else I think is interesting. And so I thought making it like an invite only.
Oh,
but only people that are like. I don't have to know you. You don't have to have been on the show, but I would love it to just be the artist and know like random people outside of that. And like no one's performing. It's just for y'all to hang out. It's and cool. Like, I don't want to use the word like network, but like, just to like, why don't y'all hang out when you're not at a show? But then I wonder, like, would you be like, I see these people at shows all the time. I don't want to fucking hang out with them.
That's so funny. People would be like, I'm going to go to a mic after this.
Yeah. What would that sound interesting to you? Or would you be like, I see them enough?
Oh, I mean, if it was a cool enough party, hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was thinking.
I'm sure people would be like, hey, do you need some entertainment?
Nope.
Who
no
this?
No.
That'd be kind of fun.
No business. It's just, I mean, y'all can talk about whatever you want.
No,
but
that
like,
sounds great.
There's not going to be, just bring the pressure off of like, it's just a time to hang out.
I think that's why people like hanging out after mics. I mean, you got to like check your schedule and be like, I can't hang out after every mic, but that's why it's so fun. Like going to downtown Plano or whatever we did. Yeah, like super fun. Just hanging out afterwards. Yeah.
You know what? Hanging out that night at downtown Plano, it was so fun to see like the different range of experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I won't drop any names, but there was like a couple people there who were fairly new, and they were just like psyched about the world. Like isn't this incredible? Oh, everything's incredible. And it's like that. It's like, it is like, it's a little infectious, You're like, it's incredible.
You're okay. Yeah.
And then, they're just like,
guys.
I'm going to run over here and I'll be right back. It's like, but you like to see people excited, And it's, I don't know.
On that high, too. After a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the 12-year comics, like, gather round.
Yeah.
Let me tell you life experience.
I'll go burn one real quick.
Yeah, right. And you're like...
Well, how long have you been performing so far?
Like 3-4 years, so it's still relatively new.
It feels like you are more of a veteran than that.
That's nice. Yeah, no, it's for me. It's been I have to stay in my lane and do it, and not worry about how many other shows other people are doing. Like make sure my kids are taken care of, do work, and then do comedy.
Well, when you told me 25 minutes, I was kind of surprised because I feel like you have much more material than that.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could probably push it, but it probably would only be good for 25. I mean, I think I am one of those more comedians that maybe aren't as confident, or somebody would be like, hey, can I book you? And they'd be like, hell yeah, I can do 40. And then in their head, they're going, I only have 20. And I'm like, no, I have 23 in 45 seconds,
Yeah.
So it is kind of that, like, you want to be honest, but also be booked.
Yeah. Do you feel
Find
like,
a way.
Does your writing, has your writing gotten quicker?
Yes.
Yeah. So do you think you'll get your next 25 minutes, much faster?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I have more than 25 total, but that would probably be like a good
like
25.
Like a strong 25.
Yeah, like a strong 25. I mean, I think I did, I used to do 30, 35, 40. And then I feel like you do that for a little while, then you're like, oh man, maybe I'm not as good at it. And then you cut out stuff where you're like, I need to work on that, or maybe that's not ready, or maybe be ready for like a show where these people aren't in comedy clubs all the time, but then you go to like maybe some of the comedy clubs where you're around like really strong comedians, and you're like, okay, I need to cut this.
Do you talk about your Auburn, sorority days?
No, there's so much I need to tap into. Some of it I don't know how to talk about it because like, some of it's life experience, like booty shaking competitions. Like I was so into that. Like hell yeah, I've never been in one where I haven't won.
But just I would imagine just the dynamics of being in a sorority.
Yeah.
Let alone at a school that's like nationally renowned, right? Like that is a known school.
Yeah.
So I would think just the dynamics of all of that.
Yeah.
There's probably tons of stuff that you don't realize, like we don't know.
Right. Yes.
About
You're
just,
right.
Like
It's
how many
good.
girls are in that house?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, there was 60 in my pledge class.
Jesus.
So, yeah, I mean, we all lived.
So 60 of y'all lived together?
Yeah. We had like a whole floor.
Mm-hmm.
So we had different rooms and stuff like that.
I mean,
but
come on, just
it was maybe
that.
40. It was maybe 40, maybe 20 didn't live in the house.
I
But
know.
yeah.
I know if I lived with 60 dudes, that would be insanity.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
got to be the same.
Oh, so insane. There's
Yeah.
so much about Auburn that was so beautiful. And I think that's good. Like, it's a good challenge to like really think like, oh yeah, what is about my life that I haven't really written about or talked about? That's just, oh yeah, that was it.
I mean, even amongst comics, it's like not a lot of comics went that education
good.
route.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like,
It's good.
it's like there's stereotypes of like, oh no, if I had an education, I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah,
You know, that
yes.
kind of stuff, right? And so it automatically puts you in a different lane.
That's good.
That I think is fun.
That's good instead of trying to like fit in with like, oh yeah, we're all broke. You know, I'm like, well, I do have a job, I guess. I mean, kids are expensive, but
Yeah.
I did go to college. But that's good, man. That's really good advice.
I mean, just, you know, like I liked your material, but I can tell you can drill down more into each topic.
Yeah.
You know, I think I was talking to, I don't know who it was, Cody Swindell, maybe. He's similar too, where it's like, I think because he's doing shorter sets and maybe you have something similar, you know, he feels like I've got to get some stuff in here. And you know, the longer sets allow you to breathe a little, maybe,
totally.
and
Storytell.
hang on a topic a little more. But yeah,
because you're so worried about laughs per minute.
Do you think about that when you're writing?
I think about that when I'm about to perform. Yeah, but then if you tell a good story, you can just insert the joke. You know, you don't have to just go to the next topic. You can still tell a story. And
have you ever tried to write just 20 minutes about one thing?
oh no, but I should.
Yeah,
man.
just pick a thing and just go like, how could I stretch this out to 20 minutes? I'd be curious to see.
That'd be such a good writing exercise because I am more apt to do quick snippets.
I mean, and it works.
Yeah,
it's very
but-
funny.
But there's something deeper that I haven't quite tapped into yet, for sure.
I would just think it'd be so hard to keep that pace for like an hour.
Right.
And just, you know,
Right.
so much easier to forget material maybe.
Yeah.
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 Because there's, I mean, only person I can think of that does material like that in long span,
Right.
like Anthony Jeselnik.
Yeah.
It's like I have no idea how he remembers that much.
Right.
You know, like
So-
everything's like, did you da-da-da?
Yeah, like Mitch
Da-da-da.
Hedberg. Yeah.
It's like, God, how do you remember that much all the time? But
That is that is good. And it's like this, what are the stories you enjoy telling? Like you got to write those down. Like remember what you
what's a
know.
story that you tell your friends when you're like, you're drunk and you're like, oh, that one time.
Oh my, anything with tequila is just dangerous.
Tequila, that was the drink, huh?
That was, and I spent some time in Ireland, which is so basic white girl, but some good times there too. I need to write about that.
Yeah.
To like study abroad.
Did you ever do the trip back to Germany?
I've been to Germany a few times. My
I mean, you have
Oma
family
still,
there, right?
Yeah, my
Yeah.
Oma lives there. My aunt is there right now. My Tante Sylvia, who I'm named after, is
What is
there.
it?
Tante Sylvia.
Tanta? What is
Just as
Tanta?
aunt.
Oh, okay.
Aunt,
I was
aunt.
going to ask you, Sylvia. Such a
Yeah,
classic
right?
name.
That is the nicest way. Some guy was like,
What-
wow, what are you came from an old folks home? I'm like, thank you, good sir.
Well, how many other Sylvias have you met?
Not that, just my aunt. And then a couple people, usually it is like a great aunt or a grandma. A couple people at grocery stores. You know,
What's the usual response whenever?
Oh, you don't look like a Sylvia. Sorry if that's
yeah.
right. Or like, oh, Sylvia? Okay, that's interesting.
It's
but-
one of those names. Like I don't think about it because you don't hear about it a
Yeah,
lot. But
yeah.
it is a very pleasant. Like the word
That's
Sylvia
so
is nice,
nice.
don't you think?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's your name. Of course,
I
you think
love
that.
it. I mean,
But no, like Sylvia sounds like, you know, it's like, oh, did you see the new 2023 Sylvia that Cadillac's selling? Like, oh, really? No. Like, I don't know. Like something like that. It's a very interesting name.
it's so nice.
Yeah.
I'll take it. No, because a lot of, totally guys in comedy are trying to flirt by being mean to you, but
Oh,
they're
okay.
like, Sylvia, that's a, well, yeah, I haven't
So
heard
it's just
that
they think it's an
name.
old woman name?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. They're just being funny. But I think it's lovely. I think it's a lovely name. And there's not a lot of nicknaming you can do with Sylvia, but
Yeah.
like my sister will call me Sylvs.
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 I
My
like it.
Sylvie. I had some of my sorority sisters call me Sylvie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really it, I guess.
What about like boyfriends and significant others? Do they
Yeah.
always go Sylvia or
Sweet
do they?
cheek? No, just kidding. Can you imagine? Ew. Sylvs.
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 I like Sylvs. Yeah.
Sylvia. My dad, have you seen Yes Man?
Yes.
Okay. Just a really random inside joke my dad and I have. Do you remember in that movie, Jim Carrey's boss Jim Carrey's character is Carl, and his boss tries to be like way too friends with everybody, so he calls him Caw as his nickname. He's like, well, Carl's already pretty short, man, but you can call me Caw. And so my dad and I saw that movie together. We thought it was so freaking funny. So I call him Da, and he calls me Siv. Because of that movie, like 10 years ago. And we still think it's like on all the cards, whatever. We think it's, hey, Da, hey, Siv.
See, that's the kind of, maybe not that specifically, but like that's the kind of stuff I would love to hear more of in your act. Like the personal stuff like that. Because it's so like, I mean, it's such a one-off. Nobody else has had that.
Yeah,
you know? By the way, that guy his boss, have you seen him in other roles?
No.
Oh, my God. You ever heard of Flight of the Conchords?
Yeah.
He was their band manager.
Oh, my
And he always kind of plays that same like aloof, you know, like I'm trying to be extremely polite and nice, but I'm weird.
That
and like,
is
he's
so
such a
great.
great actor.
I love that.
Yeah.
I would love eventually to like host a really fun game show from like on like NBC or something like that. Like I don't know if you've ever seen that. I feel like that would be
You'd be a great host.
That would be a good shtick.
You've got all the
there's a lot of stand-ups doing that stuff now.
Yeah. Well, and you have the tour guide experience.
Yeah. Oh, precisely.
What is the dumbest or strangest question you ever had on a tour about the school? Like, because you're getting the tours you were giving, by the way, how open was a tour of the campus? Was it people that like you're definitely coming to school here, or like I would just like to look at it?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they had a pretty open system.
And you know whose daughter went to Auburn and he got a tour, and I was not working in the office that day. Is Jeff Foxworthy.
Oh my God!
His daughter went to Auburn. He got a tour. I was so mad. Somebody else got to give him a tour, and of course, he's probably trying to keep a low profile. Sure. But my friend who was working, who gave the tour, we had just won the national championship the year before. It was like 2010, so this was 2011, and we have this great overlooking the stadium. And I think the only thing he said on the tour is they were up at the top, and the tour guide's giving the whole spiel. And he goes, how'd y'all do last year? And that was like, because, and then, but I was like, I can't believe I missed Jeff Foxworthy at the tour at Auburn. But I'm trying to think of
Did you hear a couple years ago he was like doing time at Nebraska Furniture Mart?
Oh my God. I thought you meant like in prison.
No, yeah, he was doing time. He's a crisis manager, or what was it? Emergency manager.
Manager.
I think he is like a spokesperson or something for Nebraska Furniture Mart. And they were like opening one up, and I think him and somebody else, opened it and like, did 10 minutes or something. Like, I don't know exactly.
He's doing time in Nebraska federal penitentiary.
Oh my God. Could you imagine Jeff Foxworthy in prison?
In jail. I have been in jail, actually. I feel like my friend, we were talking about some comedians. I were talking about making a show of comedians that have been to prison.
Okay.
And the flyer is just our headshots or our...
What? Well, I have to know what you went to jail for.
Oh man, I didn't deserve it. But,
didn't deserve it.
So this is part of. So on my 19th birthday.
Okay.
I was in prison. I was in jail. So Alabama, there's this Lake Martin, which is like a really cool lake close to Auburn. But it's a dry county, so it means like I guess I don't really even know what that means.
I grew up in a dry county.
Okay, yeah. So I was 19. My friends and I were it was on my birthday. We were about to go into this concert on the lake, and some guys, of course, it's always guys, were like, come drink with us at the truck or tailgate or whatever. So we're like, okay, we'll go back out. And so we go and have a beer, and then we're on our second beer or whatever, and cops just come out. They arrest like 20 of us. Half of them ran. Half of our friends ran.
Of course.
And I didn't. No. And my dad... of course, I'm so scared to call my parents. And my dad, the only thing he was mad about, he goes, I drove you to track practice for 4 years and you couldn't run from some cops? Are you kidding me? You ran varsity track?
Your dad sounds great, by the way.
He is great. And so anyways, we were joking about doing like a jailbird show and be like, who books that? I'm into the puns. And
you would have a lot of comics.
That's the thing is people would be like,
ton of them have.
There's so many comics that have been to jail and but it would be our mugshots.
Yeah.
But I was in like a strapless little dress because it was like the end of summer, and so my mugshot looks like I'm naked. Which my dad would not appreciate. But
is that how long do they keep mugshots up for?
I don't even know.
It's public, right?
So my record was actually expunged.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So I don't know how to find it. I'm sure I have.
Well,
that
what did
one
they take you
friend
to
that
jail
can find
for?
it.
Just minor in consumption?
Yeah, minor in MIP.
It's weird they took you to jail for that, though,
know.
because you were over 18.
Yeah. So we were like in a. Yeah, we didn't have to stay. We stayed maybe like 8 hours, 9 hours before.
I would just think that's like a ticket.
Yeah,
you know,
it should have. Yeah. They were just making a point, I guess.
Oh my gosh! Can I tell you a long story about my minor in consumption?
Yeah,
thing?
you have one too. Oh heck yeah!
So I grew up. Do you know where Wiley, Texas is?
Yeah.
I grew up northeast of there, just a little bit, like a bunch of little small towns that are kind of popping off now. And same thing, like we would have like field parties and stuff because it's all dry, right? And like if you're not from a little country meth town like I was, like you don't go to people's houses, you go stand in a field.
Heck yeah,
at nighttime.
I know. Isn't that weird? I'm like, yeah, that's what we
just
did.
thought it was the coolest thing, right? Anyhow, so it was high school. I don't, probably like a junior or senior. And, we got beer, we're hanging out at this party. And one of us knew like a group of girls in Wiley. I don't remember who it was. And like, they wanted to come to the party. They just didn't have a ride.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're like, we'll give you a ride. Right. And so
girls. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, of course. Right.
Yeah.
And so one of my friends in high school, he had his brother's truck, which was like a 4-door lifted F-150. And when I say lifted, it was like giant.
Oh my
Not
gosh.
like a little bit lifted like we do in like it was stupid, ridiculously big.
Yeah.
And so we hop in the truck, and because we're idiots, we bring a shitload of beer with us in the truck.
My gosh,
right?
yeah.
And now, to be fair, the driver, stone sober. I don't remember what he was doing, but he was like not drinking at all, completely sober. And so he's driving us, but we're just cracking beers, slamming them while we're driving. You know, the town I grew up in, there's no cops, right? But Wiley has cops.
Right.
And so the person who's driving us, their dad owned a like mechanic shop as you're coming into Wiley. And it was one of the only little shops in that area, right?
Yeah.
And, we've been drinking beer, so we got to pee. So he's like, we'll just pull in behind the shop and we'll pee real quick, and then we'll go pick the ladies up, right? So
oh, no.
So we leave out of the shop, immediately get pulled over, and we have tons. We're fucking idiots. So we're like putting beer cans in the glove box and under the seat. Like they won't find it, And what we found out later on is that I think that dad who owned the mechanic shop worked on a lot of the officers' cars.
Oh yeah.
So they were like parked near there. So they just see a big truck go behind the thing when it's not open, and they think we're like going to steal something or whatever. So anyway, the moment they get up to the truck and roll down the window, they just smell beer and everything. They're like, everyone out, you know? And so anyway, I think I must have been 17.
Yeah.
So they gave me a ticket, but I didn't go to jail. We had a friend or two with us that I think were 16, and they went to jail. And then the driver was sober, so he didn't get anything and was allowed to drive us home.
Yeah.
And so I was terrified. Like, since I'm 17, I'm like kind of an adult, but I still have to tell my parents because I'm going to have a court date and everything, right? And so I told, my dad, mom, they're super pissed. Everybody's upset. And I'm calling the courthouse or whatever, a week or two later, trying to get a court date. And they're like, we'll let you know. It's not processed yet. We will call you. We'll set it up. Like, basically stop bothering us. So I'm like, okay. And so like, I never got a call. Right. So then I'm 21, 22, and I was playing music. We're about to go travel for 3 months, driving a van around town. I'm driving through Wiley, and I get a speeding ticket.
No.
And so I go to pay the speeding ticket, and they're like, oh, do you just want to set up the court date for this other one? I was like, other one? And they're like, yeah, it says here you've got a minor in consumption that you need to set a court date for. And I was like,
no.
What? And so it just somehow slipped through the paperwork. And
so
nobody ever
wild.
called me, but I never got like a warrant for my arrest. It just was floating there.
Yeah.
And I had to go, like, we went to court, and I was like, I'm 21. I can legally drink. I've had zero issues between now and then. I was like, and I need my license, because they were going to suspend my license for 90 days and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I had to go to, I don't know if it was AA, but it was something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm about to, I need to drive for 3 months now. Like, we have this stuff booked. There's obligations. And in mid-sentence, while I'm like pleading my thing, I guess it's like a prosecutor in the courtroom or whatever, he's just like, hold on. And he goes up, talks to the judge. He goes, cop doesn't work here anymore. We'll see you later. And that was it.
Yes.
Totally thrown out, and just, I never had to do anything. Meanwhile, all my friends, like in high school, they're like, they didn't suspend your license yet? You're not having to go to these meetings? You're not having to do this? I'm like, they haven't called. And they're like, dude, you're gonna go to jail.
Yeah,
you're going to jail.
Of course, this whole
and
time.
it's like skin of my teeth. I just don't know
That's
how
amazing.
it fell through. And it's like,
heck yeah, man.
those moments, it's like, I guess I'm religious now.
Yeah.
Like, that was some kind of weird,
Thank you. Yeah.
divine thing,
Yeah.
you know. But it was just so like, I don't know. It was a very
That's
weird
so-
situation.
yeah.
But
Man.
sometimes it shakes out like that,
You
I
could
guess.
have been on our jail show, man.
I could have
Too
been, yeah.
bad. No, just kidding.
Yeah, but it's just the stupidity of a teenage boy
Gosh,
knows no
well,
bounds. Where I'm just like, we'll put the beers under the seat. And it's like, thank God. For
Genius.
some reason, I don't know if it's just because we were all polite, they
Yeah.
didn't search the truck.
Yeah.
If they had searched the truck, I don't know
Right?
what would have happened. Because when I say, like, I think we brought like a case of beer with
Yeah.
us. It's like, you
Just
fucking
wanna-
idiots.
Well, how long of a drive was this? And
Oh,
we
I
need
mean,
a case.
15, 20 minutes, you know. It's like, well, we're going to need it.
That is.
And then when we pick the girls up, they'll want beer.
Yeah. Oh, so thoughtful, gentlemen.
Oh my gosh, he opened it.
Oh my God, beer. I'm glad you guys are getting in trouble for peeing in public because I had a friend. She was my best friend in college, with early childhood education, so was teacher, great at that. But she almost got in trouble because she peed outside in public, and you can get a sexual offender.
Yeah. Now
and
it's
then
like,
can't be within a school.
yeah. I even in like, we live here in Dallas.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I take the dog out in the backyard late at night,
Yeah.
it's like, I'll pee in the backyard.
Oh, heck yeah.
Right? Of course.
Yeah.
And, but we have neighbors with kids, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to be by this shrub
Yeah,
because there's
yeah.
definitely no view. It's like, I don't even want them to see
Yeah.
like anything that looks like
Yeah,
I'm peeing. Because,
yeah.
you'll be a sex offender.
yeah.
And it's like, when I was going on the long training runs for training for the marathon,
Yeah.
it's like you're running around White Rock Lake, and it's like there's not bathrooms everywhere around there.
Yeah.
And so you're like, I guess I can pee over there. But the whole time I'm thinking like, this would be the worst way
Yeah.
to become a sex offender. Is like I was peeing by a tree at White Rock Lake, and now
What
I
are
have
the
to.
good ways to become a sex offender?
Well, I mean, just like, you know, that's a horrible way to phrase it. You're right. But, you know, it's like if I had to go around and disclose to
right,
people in my
right,
neighborhood, like,
I'd rather flash people.
I
or
just peed by a tree.
Yeah.
It just happened to be near
Right,
a birthday party that I didn't know was going on.
Bobby, the clowns.
Yeah.
That's so freaking funny.
Have you heard of the Shiwi?
No.
It is a device for women that you can cup so that you can pee standing up
That's
outside.
hilarious. No,
It's
but,
like basically like a fancy funnel.
Oh my gosh. No, but I feel like everybody drank beer out of that in college. So I feel like that's. I remember LSU. I went to LSU and they had like the most hick porta potties at like a tailgate. Like they would
Okay.
build their own, and it'd just be like a shower curtain, and like you gotta go pee. You can just go pee right.
What, was it just like a bucket and a shower curtain?
Yeah, I don't think I ever like went in, but saw it. Other people go in. I'm fine to go out by a tree. I'd rather do that than like your shower curtain camera. What is there any hidden cameras in here?
Oh yeah, gosh. Honestly, like, I'm so glad I'm a dude and I don't have to think
Yeah.
about that kind of weird pervy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like nobody's trying to do that to me ever. You know, it just doesn't happen. And even when you were talking earlier about like we were talking about women in comedy, it's like just going to open mics and stuff late at night and some of these like being a woman having to walk by yourself through Deep Elm after open mics, like fuck that.
Yeah.
Because it's like as a dude, it's like, oh, no one's trying to attack me.
Right.
Like, you know.
Yeah. And then, like, as much as like women, like, you know, we're independent and strong, it's just nice to have good friends in comedy. They'll be like, hey, let me walk you.
Absolutely.
You know, or like walk together. You know, like there's nothing wrong with that. And I've like learned, like, even though I'm like this, like I try to be like, you know, you're independent, strong woman. Be like, no, hey, Reggie, can you walk me to my car? You know, like, hey, some guys I trust, can you walk me to my car? Or girlfriends, let's walk together. You
just
know?
a group. Just a group of people.
Yeah, let's just walk together. Let's not be. And, you know, and then of course I've walked by myself and been like, I'm okay. But I don't know. Yeah, you just appreciate environments that feel a little bit safer for sure. Like it makes you appreciate the people in that world, the bookers, the managers, the owners, co-comedians, whatever it is. Like you just appreciate that.
So are you going to do the jail show?
Oh my God, maybe I want to. Yeah, I have a couple of us. We've been joking about it for so long, but then we're like, that is so true. So many comedians. Somebody said, "Go to Hyenas." That's where everybody. Which I haven't been there that much. It's probably one of the clubs in the area that I've just have had the least experience with. Maybe.
Hyenas.
Yeah. But I love all the clubs. But yeah, somebody's like, you can go there and just get like 5 shows worth of comics books.
What was your jail experience like?
Oh, it was fine. It was fine. We were there like 8 hours, 7 hours. I did get my car searched once by a drug dog. So I went 16 years. I had no speeding tickets, nothing. I recently got a speeding ticket, but that was my first time.
Wait, you went 16 years without anything?
Without anything, except for the jail thing when I was 19.
Sure.
Yeah. But before that, I would have gotten a speeding ticket. I got pulled over. I went to go pick up a friend, like an ex-boyfriend who's that was at Bonnaroo. Do you know Bonnaroo? Yeah. It's like a music festival. Yeah, of course you do. In Tennessee. And I went to go I had some friends there and they're like, Sylvia, can you come pick us up? So I was like, okay, I'll come pick you guys up. And then somehow we couldn't find each other. Eventually found them. But on the way back, I was speeding. And the cop pulls me over and he's like, hey, if you let me drug search your car, then I won't give you a ticket. I was like, hey, yeah, you can drug search my car. And I get out and they're like, what's that in the middle console? And I've never done drugs, anything. And it's the one thing my mom was like, don't. And she was like, so European and free. So I was like, okay, Mom, I'll listen to you. Thanks for letting me drink what I'm like. Never mind. I don't know if I can say this on camera. And anyways, so I was like, I want to do drugs. That's what you want. And anyway, so they're like, what's that in the console? And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, bring over the dogs. And they come and they're like sniffing. And it was just sour Skittle dust.
The dog just really loved it.
The dog was just like, yeah, because it was like, looked super suspicious, white powdery. And I was like, I just love sour Skittles, man. I'm just, sour candy is my drug. And yeah, he was like, what's that? Get the drugs, get the dog.
Oh my God, though. Could you imagine how many cops, though, like, pull you over, college student, on the way to Bonnaroo, and you're like, it's just Skittles.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, sure. Yeah.
And so my friends now are like, do you want to come do drugs? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like I've heard of people getting bad reactions. Like, I feel like that would be me, Like, they would be like, oh, it's going to be great. And then you're going to be like the one person that, like, has a really bad, like, anxiety. I'm like, I can have anxiety without drugs.
I would really love to do, like, mushrooms.
Yeah.
And, it's like... but you got to have like a nice environment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
And I still have too much anxiety right now. I know I'm going to overthink the mushrooms. I'm going to be like, okay, I think I'm breathing at an appropriate pace to not, and the lighting's nice.
Right.
And this is a good thing. But then again, I haven't eaten in a few hours.
What if somebody needs me all of a sudden?
Yeah. And you definitely have to have like a good scenario. But I'm all for, like, I'm not a huge drug user or anything either. And, but I'm all for, like, I think at this point I'm for, like, full legalization.
Yeah, man.
Just for the sense of what you were saying is like, I just want to know what's in it.
Right.
I want it regulated. I want to go, okay, I'm taking this. It's got XYZ in it.
Right.
Because, that's how, I believe bourbon, the reason they call it bourbon is there's certain standards that it adheres to in order to call it bourbon because... back during Prohibition, people were like mixing whatever, and that's where you get the expression of like, if you drink that, you'll go blind.
Wow.
Because people were putting like, they would take like a barrel that had chemicals in it and then use that to make whiskey.
People were actually going blind.
Yeah, people were having problems. Yeah. And so then when Prohibition ended, they put these restrictions. So it can only be called bourbon if it's made a certain way.
Wow.
That way okay, this is safe.
Yeah.
And little things like, that's why, I'm pretty sure it's bourbon, by the way, but you can only use the barrel one time. That's why there's so many, like, you can get these, like, in music, they'll make, like, guitar amps out of whiskey barrels. And that's why it's because it's only used once.
Right.
And that was part of it, is to make sure it was never contaminated.
That's so fascinating.
So it's like, I think they need to do that with drugs. It's like, I would love to go like, this is regulated by this organization, so I know it's great.
Right, right. I have a friend that works with high school students, and just like, I guess there's a lot of like fentanyl laced in weed. And so I know nothing about this topic, by the way, only what people tell me. So I was just like, oh my gosh. I don't
Could you imagine getting weed, which you think is going to be like the least harmful drug, and it's like, they died of fentanyl.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Dude. Yeah, they're not.
How do you think you'll handle your kids with drugs and alcohol? Because the world's going to be so different by the time.
Right. Man, I think above all, I want my kids to know I'm going to love them no matter what. Like, I feel like that's like the thing I keep going back to, for me to be a safe space. Like, my family has been, my parents have been, my dad, my stepmom, my mom, and my stepdad, safe place. Oh my gosh, especially the last couple of years, which has been really challenging, just to be like, hey, we love you no matter what you do, no matter what you choose. Like, of course, we want you to be happy and healthy and all of these things, and we're going to help you get there. But like, no matter what. And my sister too. But so I think I don't know. I think that
like, do you think
just no drinking and driving, I feel like would be the biggest.
Do you think you'd be like, don't do any of this because it's illegal, and or would you be like, listen, these are the risk?
Yeah, I'd probably be like, this is the risk. These are all the stupid things I've done when I've been drunk. Maybe not all the stupid things, but here are some examples of the stupid things. It's amazing, that me and my friends were like safe in college and we're good. But
those are also such critical moments of development.
Yeah, right.
That's like, on one hand, like I wonder, it's like, if I had missed all those moments, would I be a much better person?
Right.
Or would I be a worse person?
Right.
Dude, yeah. Because everyone likes to think like everything made me who I am today. And it's like, but you could be better. Maybe I could be.
Some of you
Maybe
sucks.
If I wasn't drinking so much in fields in high school, I would have focused on math more.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and I could have done something different.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, even looking back now, I'm like, I kind of wish I would have hung out with my parents. Like, I really liked my friends too, but I'm like, oh man, I just really liked my parents, and I didn't, I'd always leave to go hang out with friends or whatever. And so, I mean, some of that is so hindsight, but I think that, let them, probably not do anything illegal. Don't want them to go to jail like their mother.
I wonder a lot about, like, again, like the shit we're not even going to be prepared for. Like, my wife was talking about, like, wow, when he's in middle school and high school, we're going to have to be aware of conversations about, like, trans students and stuff and how to navigate that. And me, I'm like, I think trans will be a non-issue for them. I think they're going to be like, I want to take my sex robot to prom. Right. Like, just something weird that you can't even.
Who knows?
I'm like, oh my God. Because think about you
with the sex robots again, man. You're
I know. Well, I found an article that was talking about Houston tried to open up a robot sex brothel.
No,
and
man.
I think people voted it down or something.
I don't think I'm into robots. Like, I think I like humans.
Humans are cool,
yeah. I mean, I know, like, the future is AI, like, all that, but I'm like, man, maybe I'm just holding on too tight. But
I mean, I don't know. Like maybe some robots? I don't know.
Robots. No offense to all the robots listening right now. Let's be friends. I think I'm more worried about, like, social media. Like, I want to keep my kids off social media until, like, 8th grade.
I don't think they're going to want to be on it.
You don't think so? You think by then?
I think only old people like us are on things like Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, but like how it's messing with people's heads. So you get all those studies, like teenage girls and stuff like that. You think... Like, I think that there's so much that it's doing to society, even to me, when I try to scroll before bed or whatever it is, like, I feel like that.
But we also might just be dummies in the sense of, like, we're the first generation that, like, social media didn't exist for us, and now we have it. Right. So us and then, like, our parents, it's like we're the first couple generations that didn't have it, and now these kids are going to grow up going like, social media sucks. I'm not on that.
Right.
Nah, I'm not going to do that shit.
Right. It's like it's not hidden like alcohol or something if it's not like...
Yeah, I don't think they're going to care too much about it. I mean, there will always be some people, but...
Right.
Like, I mean, are like teenage girls signing up for Facebook right now?
Right.
I don't think they're doing that.
But they're on that TikTok, like, comparing themselves and...
True.
Their image, self-worth and stuff like that. But, no, I don't know what it's going to be.
But doesn't every... Like, when you were a teenage girl, wasn't that going on just in a different form?
I guess, but I don't think I had as much to look at or compare. I mean, it wasn't the social media. We were just on the house phone. We had one family computer back then.
What about
AOL?
just like social circles though, where y'all just like talking shit about other girls?
No,
and no,
I mean, my dad was always like, "Don't be a mean girl." Like, especially when I was never allowed to be a mean girl.
Going back to your dad.
Back to my dad. Yeah.
You think your dad wants to come on the podcast?
Dude, my dad freaking. Probably. I mean, yeah, I do talk about my dad a lot. It's probably intimidating.
Sounds like a nice guy.
No, he's a good guy. Yeah, I mean, of course, there was something I feel bad about in 6th grade that my friend did. I feel like I was never like the mean girl, but I was friends with a lot of them.
Sure, mean girl adjacent.
Mean girl adjacent. Yeah.
I was
but
that way.
Someone's gotta make them nice, you know.
All of my guy friends were very bad influences.
Yeah.
And I was only like a decision or two away from having a very bad life.
Yeah.
And I don't talk to any of them anymore.
Right.
I think they're all okay.
Yeah. Right.
But
they're fine.
Yeah.
They're a Nebraska furniture mart.
No, a couple of them definitely have mugshots for more serious issues.
Yeah. Hey, my brothers.
Oh man. Well, let's wrap it up there.
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
End on the mugshots. Perfect.
Yeah.
Good for my reputation. I do have a really great day job, and I'm a functioning adult. Just want to end on that.
I'm totally
In case my
capable
kids
of
are
raising my
wondering.
4 children.
Yes, I am great. I am a good job. I am smart sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah, no. Where is your preferred way to talk about your shows and everything? Do you Instagram, Facebook? What do you-
Instagram at Sylvia McBateman.
Mm-hmm.
A little spicy. Yeah, I prefer that. I also have SylviaComedy.com.
All right.
But yeah, it has all the links on there. So,
Perfect.
yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're incredible to the scene.
Oh, thank you.
Seriously.
All these compliments.
No, I mean, but it's genuine. So
Oh, well,
I
you
can
know.
give good feedback, but it's just compliments right now.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.